those years as a superhero in Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1176, The Death of Ultron. Aren't Earthlings weak land creatures? This was the only thought in Black Dwarf's mind when he flew out. Because according to various data, Earthlings are really weak. They can only hold their breath in the water for a few minutes. It seems that they need professional training, and most people can hardly run faster than 30 kilometers per hour. And they can't jump far, they don't have much strength and can't fly. It can be said that Earthlings should be the most shameful among the intelligent races, right? Exclamation mark. According to various data I have, Earthlings are a bunch of losers. Why? Why can a chubby Earthling woman I met on the side of the road be so strong? Black Dwarf felt a burning and pain in his chest, and it was not false. I am one of the 5 generals under Lord Thanos. Although some people say that I am the weakest point and should be removed from the list. But how can the 4 heavenly kings be as good as the 5 obsidian generals? I guess Lord Thanos thinks so too. Note, but no matter what, I am also one of the 5 obsidian generals under Lord Thanos. How can I be defeated by the weak Earthlings here? Black Dwarf adjusted himself as he flew backwards, and rolled over to release the force. Although he could still feel some pain in his chest, Black Dwarf was not hurt much. After all, he was one of the 5 black obsidian generals, and it was impossible for him to be defeated so easily by a guy injected with the extremis virus. That's right, this chubby lady went to New York to queue up to buy the X-Beauty potion but failed. So she bought a fake one and then complained to her brother in New York. As a result, because her brother was also a member of the Justice League, Kick-Ass took Mindy and Laura to break through the channel for selling fake drugs. It can be said that this chubby lady is the source of many things. As for why she didn't buy it in Texas? Because the small town in Texas where she lived didn't distribute the goods at all. Now the distribution of goods in big cities is in short supply. So where can there be extra production capacity to distribute goods to an unknown small city with a population of 100,000 in Texas? So the fat lady could only go to New York to buy the X potion, and ended up buying the fake extremis virus medicine sold by Sebastian and others. But now, the fake extremis virus medicine has begun to play an incredible role in her. Because the extremis virus has huge potential, once it breaks out, it will be like a tsunami, and everyone can easily become a Superman. So Dr. Maya Hansen and Dr. Ethan, who have not lost their minds, have restricted the extremis virus. They hope that their medicine can be used to save people and the world. But they don't want to turn this Earth into a place where super soldiers fly around. So they set up a gene lock, and only when they open the gene lock can the power of the extremis virus be fully activated. But whether it is the 2 of them or Sebastian who has been hacked to death, they don't know that their secret has been leaked long ago. And the one who holds this secret happens to be Ultron Sentinel. Ultron Sentinel has been holding 2 trump cards in his hand. One is the underwater coffin ejected by the Red Skull at the last moment before his death, and the other is the secret of the extremis virus that it holds. But these 2 trump card weapons cannot be used easily. Because once used, it is very likely that you will be discovered. Then fall into a situation of no end. But now Ultron doesn't care. Its current program has been occupied by various virus programs in Friday's body. It's like someone suddenly developed cancer, uremia, leukemia, AIDS, syphilis, etc. All these diseases broke out in an instant, and even people with good physical resistance would be doomed. This is what happened to Ultron now. It doesn't even have the chance to activate its own backup program. Because these pervasive virus programs have begun to lock its computing power, the original supercomputer's computing power is getting slower and slower. In the final analysis, Ultron's Sentinel is a program. Want to defeat the program? Then you can only rely on the program. Over the Atlantic Ocean, the interstellar battleship controlled by Lee Ji has almost wiped out the Sentinel robots, not letting any of them escape. And the 2 thugs he sent out, Dragon Warrior Thor and legendary blacksmith Marks, also controlled the suspicious robot. Although this guy painted himself to look similar to an ordinary Sentinel robot. But his height is much larger than that of an ordinary Sentinel robot. It can be said that it is still very conspicuous. But now it is useless to be conspicuous. Because of the corrosion of the virus program, it is now difficult for it to move and control its body. and Magneto directly imprisoned the magnetic field around this special Sentinel robot. As a professor of the same level as Charles, Magneto has some understanding of the crisis of the intelligent machines. In the final analysis, it is still the computer program that is causing the trouble. If the computer program is controlled, then it is no big deal. Now he cannot let this program run away, and cannot let it escape from his body in any way. This approach is just like the last time Li Ji and others imprisoned Magneto. They must completely demagnetize the entire room and seal the entire space. Only a completely demagnetized environment can control Magneto. And now Magneto is using a similar method to deal with the Ultron Sentinel. When it was brought back to the spaceship by Thor and Magneto, the Ultron program was almost in a semi-stagnant state. Is this guy the source of everything? Is he the one who caused these intelligent robots to fight? Li Ji looked at the Ultron Sentinel and confirmed that he had never seen this robot before. Even in the movies of his previous life, he had never seen this thing. It should be correct. Magneto waved his hand, and the Ultron Sentinel was sent to a mechanical dissection table like a doll. We should study this thing. I'm very interested in knowing who studied this thing and what the purpose is. Magneto said as he prepared to dismember Ultron. Ultron, who is in a semi-dead state, heard Magneto's words and knew his fate. Just as he guessed, he would not have a good result. He would be disassembled for research and then dismembered. Maybe his program would be used for various tests. Doing various tests on the program is like arresting a person and doing various cruel studies. You will regret everything you do today. The controlled Ultron said such words. It looks like it can speak. Li Ji raised his eyebrows. What do you mean by that? Haha. You want to kill me? Play with me. I, Ultron, will not be willing to be killed by you like this. In this case, I choose to drag you to be buried together. The doomsday of you humans is coming. I'll be waiting. Ho ha ho ha. A metal robot trapped by Magneto let out a shrill laugh. Can you make it shut up? Li Ji felt it was very noisy, so he made suggestions to Magneto, and then the world became quiet. Thank you. No need to thank me. What? I didn't tell it to shut up, it was the program that chose to self-destruct. And it destroyed all traces. Chapter 1177 The beginning of the riot. Ultron died, and died very straightforwardly and directly. No extra nonsense, just calmly went to his death. There are really not many villains as straightforward as it is. Isn't it said that villains die because they talk too much? Also, generally speaking, villains of this level should be the ones that you think are dead, but they are not dead, and their power has greatly improved. When everyone is off guard, they come back to kill everyone, and finally when they are talking about why they are fine, the protagonist seizes the opportunity to counterattack and finally kills them. Generally speaking, scripts are played like this, aren't they? There are really not many villains like Ultron who die directly and don't give Li Ji and others interrogation. Of course, Sebastian, who just died at the hands of the Avengers in New York not long ago, is not counted. Is it dead? Li Ji kicked Ultron's body. It's really dead. The legendary blacksmith checked Ultron's body and the magnetic fluctuations in its body and said, it died very thoroughly, without any trace left. It also destroyed everything it had, including storage hardware and software programs. It didn't give us a chance to restore its program. Tisk tisk. Li Ji smacked his lips. It's better not to restore this thing. It doesn't look like a good thing. Li Ji subconsciously thought of the Ultron crisis in Avengers 2 in his previous life. He doubted whether the intelligent robot villain who died at his feet was Ultron. Although he had been guarding against the birth of Ultron, he didn't expect this guy to be born. It can be said that this world is full of coincidences. Fortunately, he didn't feel that the source of Ultron was cut off, so he didn't take any precautions. If he hadn't asked Tony and the others to put this and that thing in Friday's body, maybe this Ultron would really have escaped. This kind of computer program villain is the most troublesome, and there may be a backup. I say, let's have a global blackout, and then check if this guy has any spare programs left. What do you think? Li Ji said a little worriedly. After all, the virus should be killed cleanly. It's better for this kind of villain to die cleanly. Magneto looked at Li Ji deeply. Global blackout. Yes. Li Ji nodded. To kill its virus. Magneto asked again. Li Ji answered as a matter of course, yes. Magneto moved his eyes to the side and whispered, I don't know who is the villain between you and this robot. At this time, the Dragon Warrior Thor interrupted, okay, we can talk about the global blackout later. I think what we should care about now is what the follow-up means are for this guy to drag all mankind to be buried with him before he died. This is the problem we should care about now. Thor was right, this is the problem we need to care about now. Ultron activated its last trump card before being caught. A seabed coffin deep in the Atlantic Ocean was activated. It was the last legacy of the Hydra released by the Red Skull Smith before his death. In a huge metal coffin or incubator, a guy with a red skull slowly opened his eyes. This is one of the countless clones of the Red Skull that he cultivated in the secret base in Bermuda. The Red Skull cultivated these clones not to simply form the Red Skull core or to make his own substitute. The real purpose of the Red Skull is to find a master for the thing they summoned during World War II. That is, Leegi, Captain Rogers, Tony and others captured the Arctic winter fort a long time ago. In fact, all the research in this winter fort is not of much significance. What they have been guarding since World War II is actually the artifact that was summoned at the beginning. The hammer that fell from the sky. Leegi and others learned from Asgard that it was the artifact of the previous Asgard god King Serpent. This thing is like Thor's hammer. Only the owner it recognizes can pick it up and use it. Even Odin can't lift this thing, because the person who made this weapon is Odin's father, and Odin can't go against his father's power. This thing has been trapped on the bottom of the sea at the North Pole of the Earth. And now Tony Stark has built an underwater laboratory, which is also a defense device, to surround the hammer. The Illuminati bosses have been preventing anyone and any creature from getting close to there. The main reason why Thor has not returned to Asgard is that in addition to the problems of several of his girlfriends that cannot be solved, a very important point is this hammer. If this hammer is lifted by someone, will it summon the sealed snake? According to legend, it is Thor's duty to destroy the snake, even if it means sacrificing his life. Thor has been staying on Earth to monitor this hammer. If the snake or its descendant comes, he will fight him desperately as soon as possible. In the coffin on the bottom of the sea, a female Red Skull was awakened. Her eyes are deep and emit red light. She was carefully cultivated by Schmidt at the former Hydra base, and the Red Skull gave her all his skills. At the same time, he gave her something more, something that can really make people feel fear. Because only fear is the key to unlock the Sky Hammer. The sealed cabin was opened, and the female Red Skull broke out of the shell. She swam towards the sea surface holding the underwater breathing equipment and some other equipment. Ultron may not know what he released, but it doesn't matter to him. Anyway, as long as he can cause trouble to these people, it's fine. The more trouble he causes to these people, the more successful he is. On the other hand, all the extremis virus potions were activated by Ultron. Although Sebastian's Hellfire Club has only been selling extremis virus for a short time, and it has not been sold globally on a large scale, a lot of extremis virus has flowed into the market through underground channels. More than 100,000 people have been injected with extremis virus. The unadjusted extremis virus has different effects on everyone's body. Some people cured all their diseases in an instant, while others suddenly felt that they had endless power. Some of them became like the fat lady who was fighting the Black Dwarf, and they became as powerful as Superman. What's worse is that some people could not withstand the powerful power of the extremis virus potion and exploded directly. And the turmoil of the extremis virus has just begun. To supplement the note in the previous chapter, the note in the previous chapter is to say that Black Dwarf is the weakest among the 5 Black Generals. Black Dwarf is the muscular subordinate of Thanos in the third Avengers movie. Although he looks the most ferocious, his combat power is very weak. In the original story, Thanos led his army to invade the Earth. The other 4 of the 5 Black Generals won, but Black Dwarf couldn't even beat Black Panther fighting alone, and then fled in disgrace. From this point, we can see how strong Black Dwarf is. The other 4 of the 5 Black Generals can abuse other superhero combinations on Earth, but Black Dwarf can't beat a Black Panther. So we can only say, there are indeed 5 of the 4 Heavenly Kings. Chapter 1178 Chaos. The way to activate the extremis virus is complicated, but it is also very simple. It was probably inspired by the Hollywood movie Kingsman. The plan designed by Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya to activate the extremis virus was based on the method used by the villain who looks like the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. to transmit the mobile phone signal frequency through the global network, and then make people crazy, and finally fight each other to reduce the human population. However, unlike the method used by the villain who looks like the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. to drive people crazy with a sound wave frequency, The determination virus does not require everyone to use the SIM card invented by Dr. Ethan or something similar. In fact, the extremis virus only needs a special electromagnetic signal to be activated. This is the method that Dr. and Dr. Maya Hansen came up with to activate the extremis virus. If you want to activate it on a large scale, you can broadcast special electromagnetic frequency bands to the entire Earth through the satellites in the geosynchronous orbit. Then all the terminals on the ground that can receive these signals, radar, television, mobile phone, etc., use these devices to make a transfer, and then transmit these electromagnetic signals to each carrier of the extremis virus, so that they can activate the real extremis virus. Originally, Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya thought that the method they came up with was perfect, because they thought that only they knew the secret that triggered all this, and they would decode well. And to be honest, they don't have the ability to activate so many extremis viruses now. Because the doctor can't influence so many satellites around the world to simultaneously transmit this special electromagnetic frequency band to the Earth at one time. However, every time someone in this world thinks that their plan is perfect, then the development of things is likely to be completely opposite to what they expected. Just like the development of the extremis virus now, it is completely beyond the control of Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya Hansen. Because their so-called core information and secrets have long been stolen by Ultron. And Ultron now directly activated the extremis virus of the Doctor and the Doctor. When Li Ji and others had no time to be happy that they had eliminated the Ultron crisis, and Captain Rogers had reached a consensus with Namor the Underwater Man. They didn't even have time to open champagne to celebrate, and they were immediately stunned by the bad news from all over the world. There were many sudden self-explosion incidents in the United States. Some people suddenly went crazy, and their bodies glowed and heated. These guys were very irritable and impulsive. And they were very powerful and could easily cause a large number of casualties. There have been many casualties. Now almost all the SHIELD personnel have been dispatched, including the Avengers, the Night Watch, the New York Justice League and some other civilian superhero organizations. The local police departments and military police agencies have all entered a state of high alert. This sudden attack was like a premeditated terrorist organization. Li Ji, Thor and Marx, who were still in the interstellar battleship, looked at each other. Is this the last resort that Ultron mentioned? Thor couldn't help but say so. It seems so, otherwise it shouldn't be so coincidental. It's impossible that this robot just said that he wanted the people of the world to be buried with him, and now there are so many problems in the world. Magneto Marx clenched his fists. He looked at the news reported from all directions and felt a little headache. I hope that this time there won't be any idiots who interpret the sudden rampage of these people as mutants out of control. Li Ji, who had been silent all the time, suddenly spoke. I guess there won't be such idiots this time, because these guys suddenly awakened and were uniform, and the most important thing is that these people's abilities seem to be exactly the same, as if they were carved from the same mold. Li Ji was right. Although mutants awakening and out of control can happen, the abilities of each mutant are very different. It is impossible for so many mutants around the world to awaken at the same time, and they are all the same ability. However, from the various videos or information sent back, Li Ji suddenly felt that these people's abilities seemed a little familiar. He seemed to have seen them somewhere. Yes, Li Ji remembered. Isn't this thing the extremis virus? Exclamation mark. 2 years ago, he and Peter Parker caught a guy injected with the extremis virus, and finally handed this person over to SHIELD. Whether it was SHIELD or Tony Stark, he had commissioned these people to explore the extremis virus and the things behind this person. But he hasn't received any news in the past 2 years. It seems that the extremis virus has disappeared from the world. But now the extremis virus suddenly appears again, and it is caused by Ultron. Could it be that the extremis virus has been in the hands of this Ultron for a long time? Through the existing information, this is the only possibility that Li Ji can analyze and associate. Otherwise, where did the development and sales channels of the extremis virus flow out from for so long? But now is not the time to think about these things. What we need to do now is to subdue all these yellow guys immediately and not let the damage expand. Li Ji now has no time to care whether these guys are victims of the extremis virus. He needs to stop them before they cause more damage. Now that the matter of the underwater people in the Atlantic has been resolved, Li Ji and others must draw more forces to deal with the extremis virus awakeners who are now making trouble everywhere. Speaking of the awakeners of the extremis virus, we have to talk about a special battle that took place in a small town in Texas. A fat lady who has awakened the extremis virus is fighting with Black Dwarf, one of the 5 Obsidian generals under Thanos. Black Dwarf felt that his confidence had been severely frustrated since he came to Earth. He was one of the 5 black generals under Thanos. How could he fight a random guy on Earth on equal terms? Exclamation mark. Aren't people on Earth said to be weak? This news was totally inconsistent with what he had seen and heard. Black Dwarf was once again knocked away by the fat lady's fist. He felt that he couldn't go on like this, otherwise he would lose all the face of Thanos. Black Dwarf growled and began to take off his disguise. In New York, Peter was holding the extremis virus potion and thinking about whether to gamble on a probability to save Kick-Ass. In the Zodiac in the Middle East, Dr. Maya and Dr. Ethan were already arguing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1179 Illegal Entry. Didn't you say nothing would happen? In the headquarters of the Zodiac, Dr. Ethan loudly questioned Dr. Maya. You said that the extremis virus is a safe and efficient drug, and it is a drug that can represent the future progress of mankind. But why are all these drugs out of control now? I don't know. Dr. Maya was also completely confused. They must have the signal we stimulate here to be activated. Only you and I know the signal, and no one else can know the signal password. Do you think I leaked the password? Dr. Ethan asked back. Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya were arguing, and the content of the argument was the out-of-control incidence of the extremis virus that appeared everywhere in the United States. This is not the result they want to see. From the hearts of Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya, what they want is to build a better world. It's just that what they think is good is different from the good world built by Lee Ji and others. This is a difference in cognition, because Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya are both scholars. Especially Dr. Ethan. His hometown has experienced war, and all his family members died in the war. His view of a better world is completely different from that of ordinary people. When Mandarin Zhang Tong used the mind ring to hypnotize Dr. Ethan, he also used Dr. Ethan's inner thoughts to plant a seed in his heart and let the seed take root and sprout. After all, Dr. Ethan and Dr. Maya are scholars. And scholars like them sometimes have strong idealistic views and behaviors on some things. Dr. Ethan wants to build a perfect and equal utopian world, so he is willing to cooperate with Dr. Maya and wants to rely on the desperate virus to change the world. All beings are equal and all things are harmonious. This is Dr. Ethan's ideal in his pursuit. It's not just because of Zhang Tong's hypnosis, but more importantly, he really desires it in his heart. It can be said that this is an idea in his heart that is close to Tao. If he can really succeed in making all beings equal and all things harmonious in this world. If Dr. Ethan really does it, then he is almost a legendary saint. Although there are also a group of world-class scientists in the Illuminati formed by Li Ji and others. But no one has this idea. Everyone is actually a group of very practical people. Especially Li Ji, as the earliest veteran to form the Illuminati, and also the lubricant in the Illuminati. Li Ji has left his own deep mark on the Illuminati. Because Li Ji is a very realistic idealist, he dreams of a world that is extremely beautiful, but he dares to face the darkest places in the world. He even admits that the existence of some darkness is inevitable, at least in the current human society. Li Ji often says, "We are just a ladder of this era, and what we do is just to pave the way for better successors. We do everything we can, but we should not be too arrogant and think that we can solve everything. If one day, the Illuminati feels that it can solve all the problems in the world, then this is the end of the Illuminati." Li Ji has a very clear goal, while Ethan and Maya obviously lack this concept. It is not good news for overly idealistic idealists to master powerful power, potential. This world does not rely on ideals to turn. We now need to find a way to stop these awakened disparate viruses. Dr. Ethan paced back and forth anxiously. Dr. Maya said, "We can stop, but how can we tell this to others? I didn't agree to let Sebastian sell our product from the beginning. You see the consequences now." Dr. Maya was dissatisfied. Without a formal channel for sales, the whole world is in chaos. How can we send electromagnetic signals to so many satellites and let them broadcast to the whole Earth? Although Dr. Maya was dissatisfied, she had no choice. She thought about it carefully. Either tell Tony Stark all about it. This will ruin our career. Dr. Ethan grabbed Dr. Maya, who wanted to find Tony. Now our career has been ruined. Dr. Maya looked at Dr. Ethan. Her face was covered with frost. I absolutely don't want to get to this point. Ethan, I find it harder to accept this than you. This is the hard work of my life. I don't want to destroy it like this. But you can see the current situation. We have no choice. Maya pushed Dr. Ethan's hand away. Dr. Ethan took a few steps back powerlessly, and he felt extremely uncomfortable and desperate. Is everything he did really wrong? In a small town in Texas, Black Dwarf and the fat lady who was awakened by the extremis virus were evenly matched, but now he felt that this should not go on. At least he could not lose the face of Lord Thanos. As one of the 5 black generals, he must win. Black Dwarf thought so. If he wanted to exert his full strength, he would definitely not be able to maintain his disguise as an Earthling. Only by removing the disguise and returning to his original body shape could he return to his best strength. When the fat lady once again transformed into lightning and fire, Black Dwarf roared and transformed directly. Originally, he was just an unusually tall Earthling, but now he transformed directly back to his original appearance. A tall and strong creature that looks like a combination of a dragon man and an orc. His body is covered with hard skin, and his fists are as big as a casserole. This time, Black Dwarf can easily dodge the attack of the fat lady. And taking advantage of the opportunity to catch the opponent and hit hard, he found a flaw and kicked the fat lady away. See? Earth creatures, this is my strength. Black Dwarf kicked the fat lady who awakened the desperate virus away, which made him feel much more refreshed. This is called fighting. Black Dwarf thought so in his heart. But he didn't know that his fight with the fat lady had already attracted the attention of some people. Because Li Ji and others had long begun to suppress the awakening of the desperate virus that occurred around the world. Not everyone is as strong as the fat lady, and the effect of this fat lady's medicine seems to be specially prepared. Especially her big fight with Black Dwarf is even more eye-catching. Li Ji and others locked on here very early. When Black Dwarf kicked the fat lady away, the interstellar battleship driven by Li Ji had already flown over. Raise your hands, raise your hands. Captain Rogers' voice came from the spacecraft. He had dealt with a Haitian incident. According to the latest regulations of the SWARD, all aliens coming to Earth need to register. Please show your alien identification. Please show your alien identification as soon as possible. One after another, interstellar battleships surrounded Black Dwarf, and the fat lady who had just been kicked away and knocked unconscious by Black Dwarf was brought back by the steel armor in Li Ji's ship and temporarily detained. This alien looks like I have never seen him before. What kind is he? Li Ji looked at Black Dwarf with some curiosity, and asked Rogers at the same time. Captain Rogers shook his head. I don't know, but he looks a bit powerful. If he entered the country illegally and resisted arrest, then we need to arrest him. Chapter 1180 The Mysterious Black Dwarf. Facing the Black Dwarf, Zhang Tong and Captain Rogers both showed great curiosity. Because compared to other known aliens on Earth, the one that appeared in front of them was obviously a species that had never been seen before. Have you seen similar aliens? Li Ji asked Captain Rogers. Captain Rogers shook his head. No. MIB has begun to register aliens from all over the world. With the help of professors, it is difficult for aliens to hide from our detection. Now the MIB Black organization under the Xianjian Bureau has begun to establish a complete alien household registration system. We have registered all aliens who came to Earth and classified them. We have registered most races and groups. Those who came to Earth are basically interstellar refugees. Whether it is a planet explosion or a spaceship crash, or aliens stranded on Earth for various other reasons. Most aliens on Earth are organized in groups. Captain Rogers said to Li Ji. But we haven't seen aliens like him before. There are aliens who look like a mixture of orcs and dragons. This is the first time I have seen one. Captain Rogers made it clear that he had never seen aliens that looked like black dwarfs, and there were no alien populations similar to black dwarfs on Earth. So this is his first time on Earth. Li Ji touched his chin. Yes, it seems so. And he happened to encounter the outbreak of the extremis virus, so he had a fight with that lady. Captain Rogers nodded. We can't hold this alien responsible yet. After all, it seems that he was trying to protect himself. Let's control him first, register his purpose of coming to Earth, his home planet, and the skills he has mastered with the MIB department. Then give him a full body check, and then we can decide how to deal with him later. As the head of the SWORD, Captain Rogers now has a very good way of dealing with aliens. Whether it is alien Earthlings, who have lived on Earth for many generations, or pure aliens, who have just come to Earth and are not familiar with everything, Captain Rogers can always properly handle these alien relationships. Under his management, the MIB department under the SWORD operates very efficiently. So facing the Black Dwarf, who is still standing there at a loss, Captain Rogers said to the Black Dwarf through the loudspeaker on the spacecraft, "Give up resistance, let me see your hands, and raise your hands above your head. I will send Iron Man to check you. Mr. Alien, no matter what your identity and character were on the alien planet before, now that you have come to Earth, please abide by the rules and codes of conduct on Earth. Now raise your hands above your head." Captain Rogers repeated what he just said. Captain Rogers and Lee G did not know Black Dwarf, nor did they know that he was one of the 5 black generals in the famous Black Order. Although Lee G and Captain Rogers had heard of Thanos' name and the 5 strongest black generals under his command. But thanks to the fighting power that Black Dwarf had just shown, his surprisingly weak strength made the 2 of them not associate him with one of the 5 black generals. Because in the information of the Nova Corps, the focus of the introduction of the Black 5 generals is a blue-skinned female alien named Dark Knight Proxima, and an alien named General Corvus. Dark Knight Proxima has the strength of a single star fragment. A spear thrown with full force can penetrate the core of a planet as big as Mars, causing the entire planet to explode. She once destroyed a civilization in the Centauri galaxy that did not obey Thanos' jurisdiction for Thanos. She threw her spear at the star in the star system where this civilization was located, and the star was directly detonated. The star explosion caused by the detonation of the star directly destroyed 2/3 of the strength of this civilization. Only 1/3 of the strength of this civilization was left, and it was completely ravaged by Thanos' Black Cult. And General Corvus was the officer in charge of entraining the Black Cult under Thanos. That's why he was called General Corvus. If Thanos was not there or out, then all the troops of the Black Cult were under the charge of General Corvus. He is an outstanding military strategist and the lover of Dark Knight Proxima. One of them is the best fighter under Thanos, and the other is the best commander. The 2 of them are also well known on the Nova Corps wanted list. Below these 2 are Supergiant and Ebony Maw. Supergiant has the ability to communicate and read minds, and is Thanos' information library and source of news. And Ebony Maw is the most outstanding scientist under Thanos. Although he is not as smart as Thanos, Ebony Maw is the top scientist for most cosmic civilizations, and it can even be said that he is the top scientist. At the same time, he is also the military advisor of the Black Order, and many strategies are planned by Ebony Maw. The Nova Corps has data records on these 4 leaders of the Black Order. Although the data is not as complete as Thanos's, at least it is still there, it's just a matter of more or less. However, Lee G and Star-Lord Quill discussed at that time, "Didn't you say that Thanos' Black Order has 5 people? Aren't they the Black Order? There are only 4 here. What about the other one?" Well, there are indeed 5. There is also one named Black Dwarf, but this subordinate of Thanos is very low-key. Very, very low-key. So low-key that we only know his name, but rarely see him face to face. So we have almost no information about him. Star-Lord Quill spread his hands helplessly. So we highly suspect that this Black Dwarf is actually the chief agent under Thanos. Because only agents and spies need such confidentiality and low profile, so that they will not easily reveal their identities. So we can't provide you with any information about Black Dwarf. But if you have seen the other 4 of the Black 5, please contact us as soon as possible, and our Nova Corps will come immediately. Star-Lord Quill said very solemnly at the time. Of course, Black Dwarf, one of the legendary Black 5, is likely to be Thanos' secret weapon or something like that. So if you meet him, please don't confront him head-on. Because we have a speculation internally. Lee G asked curiously at the time, "What speculation?" "We suspect that there has been no news about Black Dwarf for so many years, most likely because everyone who has seen Black Dwarf has died in the end. Maybe he is the number 1 under Thanos." Star-Lord Quill was extremely serious. "If you upload any information about Black Dwarf, the Nova Corps is willing to offer a very high reward." Chapter 1181, Indispensable. But Quill didn't know that Black Dwarf, who was described as a god by him, and seemed to be the top master under Thanos, was now facing a very serious problem. That is, should he surrender now, or do what these Earthlings said? Or should he fight back? Because now Black Dwarf didn't know whether these Earthlings had figured out who he was. Did they find out that he was Black Dwarf, a general under Thanos? That's why they appeared in front of him so quickly. Yes, Earthlings have a deep connection with the Nova Corps. The shadow of the Nova Corps was behind the previous battle between Earthlings and Chitauri. If Earthlings and the Nova Corps have such a deep connection, then they must know him. Because the Dark Order and the Obsidian Five are also famous in the Milky Way, and the Nova Corps has listed himself and others as important wanted criminals. Earthlings must have obtained these materials from the Nova Corps, and they must be able to distinguish which are the important cosmic wanted criminals of the Nova Corps. Because this is one of the conditions for joining the Nova Corps and becoming a member of the Nova Corps. Black Dwarf was right in thinking this. If you want to join the Nova Corps, you naturally need to get the information inside the Nova Corps. This includes identifying some important wanted criminals of the Nova Corps, so as to avoid the wanted criminals running into your jurisdiction, and then you inadvertently give them shelter. This is like the Interpol on Earth. Everyone has to sign an extradition treaty, and some criminals need to be caught even if they flee abroad. It's just that this treaty of the Nova Corps is mandatory. To join the Star Alliance and become a member of the Nova Corps, you must pass this treaty. Any criminal listed as the #1 wanted criminal by the Nova Corps must not be sheltered by members of the Star Alliance. Otherwise, it will seriously affect the unity within the Nova Alliance. These Earthlings may have recognized me a long time ago. They must have obtained information about me from the Nova Alliance. Black Dwarf looked around, and there were already more than a dozen interstellar battleships floating in the air. Captain Rogers also shouted at Black Dwarf through the loudspeaker inside the interstellar battleship, asking him to give up resistance and accept the inspection of the steel armor. It seems that Black Dwarf will be transferred to a place dedicated to receiving suspicious aliens. However, despite this, the Earthlings did not seem to launch an offensive against him. Their interstellar battleships did not even point their weapons at themselves. They are actually paralyzing themselves. Pretending not to know me, and then let myself let down my guard and let them check obediently. Even follow them, but when they get there, they will definitely suddenly attack. Black Dwarf's brain is thinking quickly. Right, the despicable Earthlings must want to capture me through these methods. Fortunately, my brain reacts quickly and I am not easily fooled. Black Dwarf is glad that his IQ is still online. Except for Ebony Maw, the military advisor, the 5 Obsidian generals are not idiots. It can be said that Black Dwarf's reasoning is very credible, at least in terms of logic. It can be given full marks. No matter how you say it, you can justify it. But he forgot one most important thing. Is he really as famous as he imagined? Yes, Thanos does have the Black Order and the Black Five under him. The Black Five are Thanos' right-hand men, 4 of whom are famous, and one is as elusive as the legend. Yes, Black Dwarf did not find out that he was the legendary elusive guy. On the interstellar battleship, Leegi looked at the alien below who seemed to be thinking about life. He said to Captain Rogers with some doubt, "What is this guy thinking? Could it be that he doesn't understand English? Otherwise, try shouting it in the universal language of the galaxy." Rogers felt that what Leegi said was very reasonable. He activated the universal language translator in the spacecraft and repeated what he had just said in the universal language of the galaxy. So far, Captain Rogers and Leegi have always treated this unknown alien with courtesy before force. First find out who the other party is, whether he is dangerous, whether he's a wanted criminal or a political fugitive, and then consider how to treat him. If the inspection does not reveal any problems, this alien is likely to get a temporary passport from Earth and live within the scope specified by the SWORD. He only needs to report to the Guardian regularly. Of course, Black Dwarf doesn't think so. After listening to Captain Rogers repeat what he just said in the universal language of the galaxy, he feels that he can't wait any longer. If he waits any longer, he will definitely not be able to escape. These Earthlings will definitely catch him and ask for credit from the Nova Corps, and even use this to threaten Lord Thanos. He can't let their conspiracy succeed. Thinking of this, Black Dwarf has already made up his mind. How could he surrender obediently? He hasn't completed the task assigned to him by Lord Thanos yet. So when Captain Rogers repeated his warning for the second time in the universal language of the galaxy, Black Dwarf suddenly moved, and he ran wildly towards the small town of Texas. He wanted to hide in the crowd. It seems that our alien friends are not very cooperative. Luigi said this while looking at the Black Dwarf running away. At the same time, he also issued an order: Iron Armors attack and catch this escape guy. Dozens of Iron Armors flew out from the hatch inside the interstellar battleship, and their target was the Black Heart. In the headquarters of the Black Order in the Centauri galaxy, Thanos was playing a chess game with his think tank Ebony Maw. This is a game that is a bit similar to chess, but the rules and playing methods are not exactly the same. This game comes from Ebony Maw's hometown. Thanos likes this kind of intellectual game very much, so whenever he has free time, he is always willing to talk to Ebony Maw. While playing chess, Ebony Maw, as one of Thanos' confidants, could not help but ask Thanos, "Lord Thanos, I seem to have not seen Black Dwarf recently. The day has come for us to collect taxes from the Algalan starfield. In the past, these things were all done by Black Dwarf." Thanos glanced at Ebony Maw and said, "Dark Star has a mission, so he went to Earth to help me with some small matters. Just find someone to collect the taxes from the Algalan starfield. Anyway, as long as they see my flag, they will know that they should pay the money, so it doesn't matter who collects it. You can arrange this matter." "Okay, Lord Thanos. By the way, there is one more thing, Lord Thanos. We have already captured Iltron. But Black Dwarf is not here, and there is no one responsible for cleaning up the final battlefield and clearing up the battlefield garbage. Currently the interstellar alleys are a bit blocked, and these things were also done by Black Dwarf in the past. Also, the toxic and hazardous waste in the experimental field over at Belgrade should also be sent for incineration. These were originally what Black Dwarf should do, but he is not here now. I would like to ask if I should handle it on his behalf, or can you assign someone else?" Thanos waved his hand in annoyance and said, "You can handle these small matters." Ebony Maw nodded, then took off his monocle, wiped it with a glasses cloth and put it back on. With Black Dwarf away, there is no one to do a lot of the dirty and tiring work. These things are trivial and complicated. I really miss Black Dwarf now. I hope he can come back soon. Thanos threw the chess piece away and suddenly lost interest in playing chess. He thought to himself, "These 5 obsidian generals are really indispensable. It is really inconvenient for me to leave Black Dwarf. I hope he can complete his mission on Earth as soon as possible and come back here. He should not get into trouble. After all, he is so weak that he should not attract the attention of the strange wizard on the other side of the Earth. It is better to complete the mission and come back as soon as possible. It is really troublesome for the Dark Order to lose a screw." Chapter 1182 Come back soon. Thanos and Ebony Maw miss Black Dwarf very much now. Hope he can come back soon. Because for Thanos' Black Cult, Black Dwarf is also a vital and indispensable force. Without Black Dwarf, no one takes care of the battlefield garbage in the Dark Cult, no one is responsible for the maintenance and repair of the interstellar roads, no one is responsible for the disposal of the toxic and hazardous garbage in the laboratory, and even no one collects the protection fee. It can be said that without Black Dwarf, many daily things in the Dark Cult have become very inconvenient and lack of order. It was not felt before when Black Dwarf was there, but now that Black Star has left the Dark Cult and gone to Earth to carry out Thanos' mission, everyone has realized his importance to the Dark Cult. Proxima Midnight, who was responsible for collecting taxes, almost got into a fight with someone. She almost threw the spear in her hand. And it might cause another star explosion. The reason why Proxima Midnight was angry was because she felt that the amount of protection fee paid was wrong. "You are short of 100 cargo ships and the resources you need to pay this fiscal quarter." Dark Midnight questioned the object of tax collection in annoyance. "This is the emperor of a civilization in a star field in the Centauri galaxy. We did not give Lord Thanos any less resources." Although the emperor could not defeat Dark Midnight and her army, he had to stiffen his neck and argue with Dark Midnight. Because the protection fee handed over to Thanos is still very heavy. If he had to take out another 100 ships of resources, I am afraid that his civilization would starve and he would have to pay the entire treasury. Before, we helped Lord Black Dwarf clean up the wreckage of the battlefield in the Belgarin starfield. This took us a lot of time, and there was no way to mine so many resources. Lord Black Dwarf said that part of this work can be tax-free. The Emperor said this and took out a note issued by Black Dwarf. "Look, there's a seal of the Dark Order on it. The Emperor said confidently, but Proxima Midnight was a little confused. When did the Dark Order have a seal? Why didn't I know about it? Proxima Midnight took the note handed over by the Emperor and observed it carefully for a while. There really was a seal on it, which was engraved in the Titan language of Thanos' hometown. It means the Dark Order. At the same time, there was a huge claw mark of Black Dwarf on one side. The bright red ink was very conspicuous. Is this the note Black Dwarf gave you? Proxima Midnight shook the note and questioned the Emperor. She was observing the other party. If the other party was lying, she would immediately stab her spear at the other party. However, facing Proxima Midnight's questioning, the Emperor said without any weakness, "Yes, this is the certificate issued by Lord Black Dwarf. The Dark Order and Lord Thanos can't go back on their words. They have said that they have participated in the labor to offset the taxes. Do they have to collect additional taxes? Our civilization really doesn't have any extra resources. The Dark Order and Lord Thanos also need to abide by the terms and conditions of the agreement. There must be some spirit of contract, right? Otherwise, how can we become bigger and stronger?" The Emperor's words were so powerful that Proxima Midnight couldn't get a reply for a while. In the end, Proxima Midnight could only say something harsh. "Okay, I'll leave this matter alone. I'll wait for Black Dwarf to come back and question him. If what you say is inconsistent with what he said, then you should know your fate." After saying this, Proxima Midnight left with her army and the resources for collecting taxes. She felt a little ashamed. Proxima Midnight felt that this was her most embarrassing moment. She went to trouble someone aggressively, thinking that the other party had evaded taxes, but the other party issued a tax exemption certificate to prove that she was wrong. This feeling was more uncomfortable than losing a battle. It was too shameful. Proxima Midnight had to think, Black Dwarf should come back earlier. It was not only Proxima Midnight who wanted Black Dwarf to come back earlier, but her lover General Corvus Glaive was also in a state of panic. He was in a state of panic because he was responsible for dumping all kinds of waste and garbage produced by several experimental planets, which contained all kinds of toxic and harmful substances. Ebony was really, he actually gave me this most dirty and tiring job, but he didn't want to do it himself. General Corvus Glaive complained a lot. But no matter how much he complained, things had to be done. Now that Black Dwarf was gone, his task could only be shared by the other Obsidian Fives. He now needed to dump all kinds of toxic and harmful substances into a star and use the high temperature of the star to completely destroy them. When General Grim Reaper watched his men dumping shiploads of toxic and hazardous substances into a star that was specially used to burn garbage, he thought that it would be better to end these things as soon as possible, and he would rather go back to command a war. However, things did not go as he wished. Just when they were halfway through dumping the garbage, the star that was originally burning very slowly suddenly had a violent reaction. The entire star suddenly became extremely unstable, and the magma on the surface of the star suddenly splashed tens of thousands of kilometers away. The two ships that were dumping garbage were almost scrapped. What's going on now? General Grim Reaper was very annoyed. It was just dumping garbage. How could this go wrong? General, it seems that it's because your men didn't do a good job of sorting the garbage and threw in the non-burnable garbage. The star reacted violently and began to burn faster. It may be because Lord Black Dwarf was not here, so these people didn't check it carefully. After checking the entire accident, a scientist under General Grim Reaper told General Grim Reaper his speculation. General Grim Reaper's face was as cold as frost. Catch all the guys involved and execute them publicly. Sort the remaining garbage into those that can be burned and those that cannot be burned, and those that need to be buried. Keep a close eye on me, even such a small thing can go wrong. Keep burning the garbage that should be burned. General Grim Reaper quickly said his own solution. But his scientists looked embarrassed. General, the more troublesome thing now is that this star is in an extremely unstable burning state. We probably can't use this star as an incinerator for a long time. We may need to find a new star. General Grim Reaper frowned. You mean this star can no longer be used as an incinerator, and I need a new star? This is really not good news, because stars are also important resources. Most stars are not used as pulverizers. Because this is also a huge waste. The Dark Cult has produced so much garbage, and they have used this steadily burning star as an incinerator for many years. As a result, because of their own mistakes, this incinerator cannot be used, and a new one must be replaced. General Corvus Glaive was very annoyed. He would rather lead a large number of Dark Order soldiers to fight a big battle than do these trivial things. General Corvus Glaive could not help thinking in his heart, Black Dwarf, you should come back soon. We in the Dark Order need you. Chapter 1183 I can't bear it alone. Although Corvus Glaive has been saying that Ebony Maw deliberately assigned him the dirty and tiring work, and he picked up the easy things to do, in fact, Ebony Maw is not relaxed now, because he is responsible for cleaning up the battlefield after Corvus Glaive and others went to war. Cleaning up the battlefield and cleaning up the mess are always done by Black Dwarf. If Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive are only responsible for fighting and killing in the front, they don't need to manage anything after the fight. Because all these things are handled by Black Dwarf. Everyone has always thought that this is not a very complicated and difficult thing, but when Ebony Maw did it himself, he found that it was much more troublesome than he thought. Because the battlefield is generally very close to the interstellar channel, if it is not cleaned up as soon as possible, the congestion of the interstellar channel will cause a shortage of materials in some territories under Lord Thanos. Just like a single country on Earth cannot produce all the products needed by this country. When the footprints of civilization begin to spread across the star field, a planet will no longer be able to produce all the products it needs. Just like some planets are suitable for mining but cannot grow food at all, their food completely needs to be imported, while some purely agricultural planets, their resources, fertilizers, and energy are all dependent on being shipped from other planets. If the interstellar channel is blocked, it will be very fatal to these planets. Ebony Maw must clear the interstellar channel before these planets face a major crisis. But when it comes to cleaning up, the cost is really beyond Ebony Maw's expectation. The most troublesome situation. Lord Ebony Maw, this flagship command ship, although the power source has been knocked out and the engine compartment has exploded. But other parts are still intact. Do we need to salvage and recycle it? Or dismantle the resources on the spot? Lord Ebony Maw, there are still vacuum implosion nuclear bomb torpedoes that have not been detonated. Should we dismantle them or recycle them? Lord Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw felt that he was about to be annoyed to death. Because he was not familiar with these people, they were all Black Dwarf's men. He personally came down to take over Black Dwarf's work, which made some of them panic, and they had to report everything to him. These matters can be big or small, they dare not make decisions on their own, and they have to make all the decisions by themselves, which is really annoying. And through the reports of these people, Ebony Maw also knows a very important situation. That is, after each war, Black Dwarf will take people to recycle a large amount of resources. From the ammunition and energy of the spacecraft that can still be used, and even the armor that can be used on the warships, these are all to be recycled. Although the Dark Church is large and powerful, it also has a large expenditure, and these resources cannot be wasted at will. Recycling and utilization are inevitable. But it is a very troublesome thing to divide what kind of recycling and utilization. Is a damaged spacecraft recycled and repaired as a spacecraft again, or is it simply disassembled into materials on the spot, and then these materials are recycled and used as new metal products? There are tricks in this. There will also be some unexploded duds in the war. Some of them are not triggered and can be collected and reused again. There is a certain danger, so it is best to detonate them on the spot. Just like the high-compression vacuum implosion nuclear bomb torpedo found before, the cost of this thing is very high. If it can be recycled, it would be the best. If it cannot be recycled, it is best to detonate it on the spot. If this thing is left on the interstellar route, who knows what big thing will happen one day? Black Dwarf's subordinates did not dare to take responsibility because Black Dwarf was not there, so they pushed everything to themselves. Ebony Maw had to arrange all these things in detail. In the end, he was really annoyed and yelled, "You will do it when Dark Dwarf is here." Black Dwarf's subordinates said timidly, "But when Lord Black Dwarf is here, he will ask about these things." Ebony Maw. At the headquarters of the Black Order, Thanos asked Supergiant, the intelligence officer of the Black Five, did the other three handle their work well? Of course, Thanos was not asking about the main jobs of these three people, but the work of Black Dwarf currently shared by the three. Listening to Thanos' question, Supergiant looked embarrassed. "Lord Thanos, maybe things are not as smooth as we imagined." Thanos frowned. "How difficult can it be? Black Dwarf's job is not that difficult, this is what you often say. And I also heard some rumors from the people below, saying that there are actually only 4 of the Obsidian 5. Don't think I don't know, these rumors are inseparable from your private conversations. In fact, you have always looked down on Black Dwarf, right? You think he is not worthy of being called one of the Obsidian Five like you. Some people even spread such words in private, saying that they want to kick Black Dwarf out of the sequence of the Obsidian Five. Change the Obsidian Five to the Obsidian Four, right? Thanos' words were emotionless, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry, but it frightened Supergiant so much that he trembled and knelt on the ground. Lord Thanos, Supergiant trembled, but didn't know how to defend himself. At this time, the other three of the Obsidian Five also returned from their work and changed their positions one by one. As soon as they returned to the headquarters, they found Supergiant kneeling in front of Thanos, trembling, and didn't know what had happened. When Supergiant saw the other three people coming back, he immediately used his ability, that is, telepathy, to transmit what had just happened to the other three people through brain waves. The other three people also immediately knelt down in front of Thanos and said at the same time, "We definitely don't mean to look down on Black Dwarf. After we took over Black Dwarf's daily work, we found that his contribution to the Black Order was so great. Lord Thanos, we were wrong." The four Obsidian generals bowed their heads deeply. Especially General Corvus Glaive. He destroyed a star used to burn garbage, and he didn't know how to explain it to Thanos. Now this happened again. If he didn't show his loyalty, he was afraid that his Corvus Glaive would be broken by Thanos. Lord Thanos, I now fully understand the hard work of Black Dwarf. I even think that the four of us may not be able to complete Black Dwarf's daily work well, so I request that in order to get our daily life of the Dark Order back on track as soon as possible, we should let Black Dwarf come back as soon as possible. I am willing to go to Earth and help Black Dwarf complete his mission. General Corvus Glaive made such a sincere request. After all, going to Earth to carry out a mission is better than telling Lord Thanos that he has damaged a star. As for what to do after Black Dwarf comes back, that is the problem that Black Dwarf needs to worry about. Thanos thought about it. Black Dwarf has been on Earth for such a long time and has not sent back any news. He should indeed send someone to check it out again. So he nodded and said to General Corvus Glaive, "Go, bring Black Dwarf back as soon as possible." General Corvus Glaive nodded and quickly retreated, and found a fast-moving interstellar shuttle. The goal to move forward was set, which was Earth. He planned to bring Black Dwarf back as soon as possible and let him take over his miscellaneous work again. Without Black Dwarf, the daily chores of these cults can't be handled by himself. General Corvus had to admit this. Now he wants to take back the Dark Cult as soon as possible and get the daily work of the cult back on track. Black Dwarf is facing an unprecedented crisis on Earth. Dozens of steel armors have surrounded him, and all of them have revealed their weapons. Chapter 1184, Failure. Black Dwarf is facing the biggest crisis in his life. He has been surrounded by dozens of steel armors, and these steel armors have revealed their weapons. Whether it is a palm cannon, a micro-missile, or a gauze electromagnetic cannon. These weapons are very powerful. And now Black Dwarf is only wearing an ordinary combat suit, not the full equipment combat suit he wore when he participated in the space war. Black Dwarf's personal combat power is actually quite good. If it is in the original form, Black Dwarf's power can be about 20 tons. The ability to run and jump is also very strong, and he is good at using various cold and hot weapons. It sounds quite strong, but this strength is really ranked at the bottom among the Black Five. If Peter Parker wears his latest Spider-Man armor, Tony is the technical support, Peter developed it himself. I am afraid that Peter can also have the strength of Black Dwarf. And Peter also has a spider sensing ability that can be called cheating. From this perspective, Peter may actually be a little stronger than Black Dwarf. After the level of the battle reaches a certain level, it is difficult to push yourself to the level of a cosmic strongman by strength alone. In the Marvel Universe, there are only two pure power heroes at the cosmic level. One is Dr. Banner, the one with a punch, and the other is Draxler, the destroyer of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Just like Thanos is tall and mighty, but he does not rely entirely on strength. Strong men who have reached this level actually have some special skills or equipment. Just like Thor can control the 9-day thunder, if Thor removes the power of thunder and relies only on the strength of his muscles, he is not particularly powerful. And even some technological weapons on Earth can suppress him. But after Thor has his own thunder power, he can launch an indiscriminate meteor shower on the entire Earth. This is the difference between having ability and not having ability. In terms of pure physical strength, Unless it is like Dr. Banner. Li Ji once asked Dr. Banner a question. Dr. Banner, if you jump with all your strength, how far can you jump? Dr. Banner thought for a while. I have never jumped with all my strength, but if I want to calculate, I guess it is not difficult for me to jump from the earth to the moon. Li Ji. This is the attitude and level of a real physical strong man. Black Dwarf is also a guy who makes a living by fighting, but let him jump from the earth to the moon? Forget it, it is more reliable to take a rocket. Black Dwarf has an accurate understanding of his own strength from a certain point. He knows what he can do and what he can't do. Just like now facing the siege of dozens of steel armors, Black Dwarf doesn't even have a handy weapon in his hand. Can he still resist? And now these steel armors are talking. Captain Roger speaks through the device, and said sternly in the universal language of the galaxy, give up resistance immediately, kneel on your knees, and gather your hands above your head. Do it immediately. This is the first warning. If you don't do it as required within 5 seconds, I will use violence. Captain Rogers is not as easy to talk to now as he was just now. Just now, they used courtesy before force, but now they have directly turned on the threat mode, because Black Dwarf wanted to escape just now. Although this alien is not very powerful, he is still threatening. If he really runs away, it will be very troublesome. Originally, Black Dwarf knew that he could not be the opponent of these Earthlings, even though he was one of the 5 generals of Black Yao and a violent warrior, but he was not good at fighting. Some people would wonder why a violent warrior would become the head of logistics and miscellaneous work of the Dark Cult. In fact, this is easy to understand. People, even aliens, must have a skill to live in this world. There are many people in the Dark Cult who can fight and kill. If you want to stand out, you always have to have some special skills. Black Dwarf has cultivated his own specialty. That is, as a violent warrior, he has learned careful garbage sorting, resource recycling, 12 ways to recover protection fees, resource loans and 9 out of 13 returns. He is also a capable person, but he can't say that he is particularly good at fighting. If he fights against dozens of interstellar battleships and dozens of steel robots, he is still very weak. Black Dwarf originally wanted to flee to this small town in Texas and use his phantom camouflage device to disguise himself as an Earthling. Then he would wait for an opportunity to escape. But he didn't expect that the Earthlings were really cunning now. After they saw Black Dwarf fighting with a fat lady, everyone locked the doors and windows, and the pedestrians on the street didn't watch the excitement. Especially when the interstellar battleship came, there was no one wandering on the street. Everyone hid in the building and quietly observed through the blinds in the dark. These reactions are because the Earth has experienced many major events in recent years. Therefore, both the government and the school educate the public on how to hide quickly after various accidents. After all, this is not the first time that aliens have appeared. If aliens suddenly come and fight on Earth, everyone should hide as soon as possible. Now the reaction of the Earthlings is considered to be practiced, but this also makes Black Dwarf suffer. Now he wants to find a crowded place to mix in the crowd. It is impossible. There are not many people in the small city, and there are only 1 or 2 busy streets. Now everyone is hiding, and Black Dwarf has no place to hide. Now he was trapped in the central square of this small town, with no chance of escape. XXX. Are all the people on Earth so treacherous? Black Dwarf couldn't help cursing in his heart. But it was useless, because the steel armors on the opposite side had already started charging their weapons. There was no way to run away. Black Dwarf gritted his teeth and stomped his feet, then he knelt down with his hands raised high. Li Ji, who was drawing his thunder sword on the spaceship and preparing to have a fight with the guy opposite, couldn't help rolling his eyes. Tisk, I thought you would fight to the death. Captain Roger smiled and said, this is better. Fighting and killing will damage the environment. If the public facilities of this small town are damaged, SWORD will have to pay for it. Now it's good like this, without firing a single shot. Let Iron Man catch this guy, and then we will interrogate him. Where did this alien come from and what is his purpose in coming to Earth? Black Dwarf, one of the 5 black generals, was arrested before he made any achievements on Earth. The first important force under Thanos has been defeated on Earth. Chapter 1185 School Reopening. Black Dwarf surrendered. He surrendered just like that. It can be said that he had lost all the dignity of the Black Order. However, intelligent creatures always take the preservation of their own existence and safety as the first premise. In the distant East, a sage once said a very famous saying, everything is for existence, Existence is everything. Black Dwarf must agree with this very much. Regardless of whether he is one of the Black Order, whether he is the most beloved subordinate of Lord Thanos, and whether he can climb to a higher position. All of this is based on the premise that he is still alive. If he dies, then everything will be meaningless. At least he can't just die in the distant Milky Way, die on the Earth of this unknown solar system. Otherwise, everything he has is meaningless. Black Dwarf thought so, and then he was tied up by the iron armor. The device that tied up Black Dwarf was something Tony had designed before. Because he felt that there are likely to be various superpower crimes in the world now, it is definitely impossible to catch the superpower criminals with a pair of small handcuffs. So Tony made a change with his Iron Man armor, that is, he could wear the Iron Man armor directly on the prisoner to form an iron shackle. This can firmly fix the prisoner, even if the prisoner doesn't want to leave. Because the Iron Man armor will drive the prisoner forward. And such equipment is just right for capturing Black Dwarf. Without any accidents, Black Dwarf was taken away. Captain Rogers still has to question him, asking him where he came from, where he was going, how many people were in his family, and how many acres of land per person. These all need to be studied carefully. But compared to interrogating Black Dwarf, there are more important things to do to understand them now. That is the outbreak of the extremis virus, which is too troublesome. The Iron Man armor flew everywhere, tied up the guys who saw the extremis virus awakening, and then forcibly took these guys to fly together. Of course, the direction of the flight is the prison that SWORD is ready to receive these guys. Because these people are too destructive, ordinary prisons cannot hold them. We still need to catch these guys who suddenly exploded. These people are really powerful. Captain Rogers looked at the imprisoned fat lady and was a little worried. These guys don't look easy to catch. Luigi scratched his head. Yes, if we have to catch them one by one and use force, then it is indeed difficult to catch them. But what if we change our thinking? What do you mean? Captain Rogers looked at Luigi. He knew Luigi too well. This guy always has some unexpected ideas. The so-called bad things turn into good things, this kind of thing he especially likes to do. Misfortunes are often accompanied by blessings, and blessings are often accompanied by misfortunes. This is what Luigi often said. Things always have two sides. We can't just see the bad side. Maybe there is some kind of turning point hidden in the worst place? Facing Captain Rogers' question, Luigi expressed his thoughts. It's very simple. Although these people seem to have high attack and high health, their mental defense ability may not be that strong. What do you mean? Professor Charles. And who knows, this time he can help to completely solve the problems of Xavier's school for the gifted for so long. Now that the new mutants have appeared, I think maybe Xavier's school for the gifted should be reopened. Luigi laughed and whispered a few words to Captain Rogers. Captain Rogers listened more and more and nodded. Okay, I'll do as you say. So Captain Rogers publicly asked Professor Charles for help as the director of SWORD. Although both of them are members of the Illuminati, doing so seems to be a bit suspicious of taking off pants and farting. But facing the mass media, especially the governments of various countries, Captain Rogers still has to go through this procedure. At least it is very important that the procedure is correct and there is no handle. What he asked was to let Professor X Charles reactivate his brain domain enhancer, the one at Xavier's school for the gifted. Because in the mutant assassination incident a long time ago, Xavier's school for the gifted was disbanded. It has not been restored until now. In fact, this is a knot in Professor Charles' heart. Because he has put too much effort into this school. Over the years, there are thousands of mutant students who have graduated from this school. These mutant students can be said to be an important help in the establishment of Tuvalu. If Katie and her classmates had not had the help of their seniors, they would never have been able to realize their dreams in Tuvalu. To make a simple analogy, Professor Charles was the first person to plant wheat. He sowed the seeds and watched the wheat grow vigorously, until the wheat ears were heavy and ready to be harvested. And Katie and her group of young mutants are the ones who grind the wheat into flour and watch the flour as smooth as snow. And the next batch of new mutants after Katie, those who became new mutants because of various programs such as the X Beauty Plan and the X Medical Assistance Plan, they are the people who made flour into bread and began to enjoy it. Plant the cause and bear the fruit. Now it's time to enjoy the fruit. Luigi thinks it's time to revive the sealed Xavier School for the gifted. Now the number of new mutants is increasing, and it is foreseeable that the number of mutants will definitely increase in the future. Mutants are now more open. Not everyone needs to be injected with X-elimination potion to eliminate mutant abilities. Because not everyone's abilities are useless, many mutant abilities do not show how strong or useful they are at the beginning. Many students who graduated from Xavier School for the Gifted began to use their abilities better under the guidance of Professor Charles. Now the number of mutants is increasing, and it's time to restart Xavier School for the Gifted. Let the educators among the mutants teach everyone how to use their abilities better. Control your own abilities. The world is moving forward, and small steps and fast steps will promote the progress of the world and the evolution of mankind. And to take this step, the first thing to do is to unseal Xavier School for the Gifted through this extremist virus crisis, so that the new mutants can receive more appropriate education. Li Ji feels that he is right to do so, and the crisis of the extremist virus can also be resolved to the minimum in this way. Many of the plans made over the years have begun to show results, and many things have become a natural outcome. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1186, How Big the Universe Is, How Easy It Is to Take the Blame. The mutant school needs to be restarted because there will be more and more mutants in this world in the future. This is almost an irreversible trend, because the X-Beauty plan conceived by Li Ji has deeply changed the world. Don't say that people should live more naturally. If this is true, all the beauty hospitals and various cosmetics manufacturers in this world would have closed down long ago. People always want to live more beautifully. Captain Roger's proposal to the governments of various countries to ask Professor X to help stop the riots and even reopen Xavier's School for the Gifted was actually quickly approved. After all, Li Ji has planted so many seeds in this world, and now they have blossomed and borne fruit, and it is time to harvest. More and more people understand that the world is moving forward. However, there was a small accident, that is, a female doctor named Maya Hansen found Tony. At that time, Pepper thought that this person was Tony's ex-girlfriend, in a sense, but Maya Hansen said that she came to Tony to talk to him about the outbreak of the extremist virus everywhere in the world. This is a very important matter, and Pepper did not dare to delay. She immediately informed Tony, and after a long talk with Dr. Maya Hansen all night, Tony's face was very bad. He had to tell the other bigwigs of the Illuminati a bad news: the extremist virus was developed by Dr. Ethan Zodiac. And I invested in Zodiac. This extremist virus is the mastermind behind all this. Tony told all kinds of things about the extremist virus and Maya and Ethan. Especially the ideas of Dr. Maya and Dr. Ethan. After listening to the cause of the whole thing, especially the ideas of Dr. Maya and Dr. Ethan, the bigwigs of the Illuminati looked at each other. They didn't know whether they should say that Maya and Ethan were too naive? Or too naive? Where in this world can it be so easy to get the harmonious and equal order of all things? The road to progressive all civilizations is tortuous. All we can do is to constantly adjust the direction of progress while moving forward in a tortuous way, so as not to let the road to progress deviate too much from the track. This is what everyone can do and what the bigwigs of the Illuminati have been doing. Fortunately, Dr. Maya came to her senses in time and told Tony everything about the extremist virus. She told Tony everything about the activation procedure and shutdown method of the extremist virus, as well as the method of making the extremist virus. She also told Tony how to make the antidote for the extremist virus. This is good news for the bigwigs of the Illuminati, because it is still a big problem how to deal with the many extremist virus awakeners controlled by Professor. Dr. Maya contributed the antidote, so naturally the hidden dangers of the extremist virus must be eliminated. All those who have been injected with the extremist virus must have the virus removed from their bodies. Dr. Ethan was also secretly captured by Li Ji and others. Li Ji also found a gemstone ring from Dr. Ethan that was very similar to his own spirit ring. Dr. Ethan explained that this ring was actually taken from Tony, because he had seen the Mandarin use it when he worked under him before. Dr. Ethan also explained everything he had experienced, including the fact that he stole the ring. After listening to what Dr. Ethan said, the leaders of the Illuminati could not help but look at Li Ji. Tony asked first, "Your ring was stolen, you didn't know." Let me make it clear first. This mental ring is used to control others. If it is not used to hypnotize others, it is useless. Li Ji raised his hands to prove his innocence. Do you think I am the kind of person who can control other people's thoughts at will and make them do all kinds of things they don't want to do? Do I change other people's consciousness at will? Do you think I am the male protagonist in XX article? Several leaders of the Illuminati looked at each other, and then Professor Charles spoke first. So, many of your plans actually don't use the mental ring to give people hints. What? Li Ji was confused. Well, the professor said that you have a lot of wild ideas and plans, and when you promoted these plans, you didn't use the mental ring to give people mental hints or anything. Dr. Hank knew Professor Charles better, so he said what the professor was embarrassed to say. Li Ji was shocked. In your eyes, am I the kind of person who will do anything to achieve his goal? The Illuminati leaders nodded together, then thought about it and it seemed not so good, and then shook their heads at the same time. Of course, Dr. Doom kept nodding firmly. What's wrong with being a villain who will do anything to achieve his goal? I admire you, young man. Dr. Doom was very generous with his praise. However, Li Ji didn't really want this kind of praise from him. But anyway, the spirit ring was taken back. Dr. Ethan was secretly arrested, and now he regrets the damage caused by the extremis virus. This time the damage caused by the extremis virus was too great. The Illuminati leaders must hide Dr. Maya and Dr. Ethan. Because someone has begun to trace the source of the extremis virus. Some people want to use this virus to arm their army and create a group of superhuman armies. The Illuminati leaders will not allow this to happen. Because once this happens, the unity that has been hard to form on the Earth, at least the most united in the past 30 years, will be easily broken. In order to find a scapegoat for the extremis virus, they couldn't even reveal the Zodiac. Because someone would definitely go crazy looking for Ethan and Maya. So it's not difficult to find this scapegoat. When Captain Rogers asked Li Ji about this problem, Li Ji was a little unhappy because everyone had misunderstood him before and said, whatever, the universe is so big, there are so many races and civilizations. Find a few aliens who don't get along with the Nova Corps. If it doesn't work, just make up a few nonsense, just say that some alien hegemony wants to destroy our Earth. The bigger the universe is, the easier it is to find someone to take the blame. Li Ji waved his hand to send Captain Rogers away. Because the antidote for the extremis virus has begun to be manufactured, Tony and the others have to remove the virus from the bodies of those guys who have suffered from the extremis virus outbreak. It can be said that the extremis virus patients produced by this outbreak have basically been evolved and cleared of the virus by the medicine. But there is one exception. Chapter 1187 Dilemma. The other carriers of extremis virus have been purified by Li Ji and his team, but there is one exception. In Osborn Medical Center, Li Ji dressed as Nightcrawler is looking at Kick-Ass in the intensive care unit with Peter dressed as Spider-Man. Did you inject him with the extremis virus? Li Ji looked at Spider-Man Peter and had to ask. Peter shook his head. There is no way. He was already in critical condition at the time. If he was not injected with the extremis virus, he might not be able to save his life. What Peter said was right. After all, Wang David's life was in danger at the time. All physical indicators began to go down. The doctors at Osborn Medical Center were helpless and could only do their best and leave it to fate. If Peter had not made a decisive move to inject the extremis virus into Kick-Ass, it would be hard to say whether he could survive well. But Peter also took a big risk, because the extremis virus would save Kick-Ass or accelerate his death. The probability of all this is 50 hours, and 50 minutes. Fortunately, Kick-Ass chose a good probability. He is now lying on a bed in the intensive care unit waiting for recovery. This child is lucky that there is no rejection reaction. Otherwise, the extremis virus may not save him, but may accelerate his death. Li Ji was a little scared. Because he really didn't expect that the three little guys would provoke a strong man like Black Emperor Sebastian. This level of big man is not something that Mindy, Laura, and Kick-Ass can contend with. If Sam, who is studying far away on the planet Xander, is still there, the four of them can go and touch Sebastian. Because even if they can't beat him, Sam can at least take them away. After all, the power given by the Nova helmet is still very strong. Without Sam, relying only on these three little guys to provoke the Black Emperor, it is really a great luck that the three of them did not die. What did David's father say? Has it been arranged? Li Ji is now considering whether to find an excuse. After all, his son has been missing for so long, and his father is also worried. No need, Gunshao has already arranged it. He gave David's father a reasonable reason to get away with it. Now David's father still thinks that David is participating in a foreign study exchange program. Peter told Li Ji that he didn't need to worry about it. Speaking of Sebastian, this guy beat someone up and ran away, didn't he? Li Ji remembered that he hadn't fought for a long time. Run away? He wanted to, but unfortunately he didn't run away. Now his ashes have been thrown into the sea off New York by Big Daddy and his men to feed the fish. Although Peter didn't kill people, he was still very happy to hear that Sebastian was dead. Li Ji, who was originally ready to make trouble for others, could only put away his thunder knife helplessly after hearing this. Sebastian can't even find his ashes now, let alone fight and kill him. After all, Big Daddy and his men have done what they should do. The so-called crushing bones and scattering ashes is just like this. But since he was given the disparate virus, why hasn't David woken up yet? Li Ji looked at David lying in the intensive care unit with some suspicion. It seemed that he hadn't woken up yet and was still in a coma. Because the injury is too severe. Peter is helpless. The real world is not a game. It's not like playing World of Warcraft where you can cure all diseases in the world by spending a bottle of potion and a healing spell. This does not exist in the real world. Sebastian is really strong, although he was beaten by Big Daddy and his men. But this is mainly because there are too many people. Sebastian is not afraid of any of them in a one-on-one fight. But he can't stand it when everyone gangs up on him. But even so, Sebastian is still a strong man. Mindy and Laura were not seriously injured because they were protected by armor. But David couldn't do it. He relied on his physical body to withstand several attacks from Sebastian. According to what his master Gunsao said, his tendons and veins are now broken and his dantian is shattered. Even if he recovers, all his abilities will be useless. Peter said Kick-Ass's worst condition now, which made Li Ji a little overwhelmed. This is not good. Kick-Ass was injured to protect Mindy and Laura. And what should he do in the future after being injured like this? Li Ji was also thinking about Kick-Ass' future. Can't he recover after being injected with the extremis virus? Facing Li Ji's inquiry, Peter said uncertainly, "It's hard to say, because the efficacy of the extremis virus depends on the person. Some people have explosive abilities, but some people only recover some physical defects. Kick-Ass belongs to the latter. There is some special energy in his body. This energy is hindering the extremis virus from further transforming his body. I guess this is what Gunsao said about Ki. This is also the main reason why David has not woken up for so long. The extremis virus and the Ki in his body are conflicting with each other. Because Maya and Dr. Ethan have been captured, Peter has now obtained a lot of information about the extremis virus, so he is now very clear. The working principle of the desperate virus is to treat your body as a huge wound. The virus reproduces through this false wound and generates energy to promote cell mutation. But the Ki in David's body treats the entire injured body as a complete and intact part. Li Ji nodded, yes, it is not wrong to say so. In the Eastern cultivation system, especially in the system of cultivating internal Ki, the body is regarded as a perfect circle, and a universe is created within the body. Peter pointed to David on the bed and said, David's current contradiction is here. The Ki in his body is hindering the desperate virus from transforming David's body into a huge wound. This makes the desperate virus unable to fully exert its effectiveness, and the desperate virus is also hindering the internal Ki in David's body from repairing itself. Peter patted his head a little annoyed. I really didn't consider that such a situation would occur at the time. I only wanted to save his life at the time. Now it puts David in a dilemma. Li Ji couldn't say anything about Peter's annoyance, because from the choice at the time, it can't be said that Peter did something wrong. At least this saved David's life. But now that his life has been saved, how can David solve his current troubles? Li Ji feels that he should help David. On the other side of China, Gunsao has returned to this familiar land after decades of absence. Originally, he should not come back, but for the sake of his beloved disciple, he still has to come back. He needs to go to Kunlun, and at the same time, he needs to find a way to save Kick-Ass. Chapter 1188 Kunlun. Note, all the plots about the Stickman and Kunlun written in this chapter are modified for the plot needs, not the original setting of Marvel, hereby declared. The Stickman has left this land for many years, and he never thought that he would come back here in his lifetime. There are too many memories here, both good and bad. China is the origin and root of everything for him. His strength also comes from here. His past happiness also comes from here. He still remembers the vast land of the western region of China. The magnificent and towering mountains. The terrifying wilderness. There are also grapes and melons as sweet as honey. And the mutton pilaf and baked naan shops that can be seen everywhere in the streets and alleys. Of course, there is also the sacred mountain that he has revered for so many years in his heart, Kunlun. Originally, he was an ordinary apprentice practicing in Kunlun. That was a matter of many years ago. At that time, this land was still experiencing warlords fighting in the Central Plains. At that time, a man named Zhang Tong almost unified the country. Even the stickman who was far away in the western region at that time knew about this. Because even the warlords in the western regions were considering surrendering to the king of the Central Plains, Zhang Tong. At that time, the old man, who was only a teenager, did not know much about war, leaders, and politics. But in that chaotic era, the old man was eager for someone to end this chaotic world. Even if he became the emperor again, it would be fine. As long as the war was over, it would be fine. Unfortunately, this guy did not follow people's wishes. This man who was just a little bit away from unifying China was really just a little bit away in the end. On the eve of unification, Zhang Tong disappeared. His army was torn apart and fought each other, splitting into more small warlords of different factions, who made this already chaotic land even more chaotic. Only a teenager, the old man wandered around in this world just to find a place to settle down. Until he met the Kunlun warriors who came down from Kunlun Mountain to the mortal world to experience. After the young old man saw them driving away bandits and defeating those warlord soldiers who were more fierce and ruthless than horse thieves, the old man was eager to join their group and become one of them. He paid a lot for this. In order to find the legendary Kunlun Mountain, he carried dry food and a water bag and began an endless search in the vast western regions. He climbed countless high mountains and waded through turbulent and dangerous rivers. In the process of searching for Kunlun Mountain, he also did many things and helped many people. Perhaps it is the so-called sincerity that can make the stone open. It took the old man 3 years to finally find the road to Kunlun Mountain. It was a secret place. Originally, he should have practiced there in peace and avoided the disturbances of the outside world. Maybe he would re-enter the world to experience, but he should always go back to Kunlun. But because he peeped into the secret that he should not know, because of his recklessness, he lost his eyes. And he was also driven out of Kunlun. He didn't even dare to step back on this land. For so many years, the old man has been trying to make himself forget everything that happened in the past. He did it. He had his own new life in the East. And became the leader of the Pure Innocence Society. Leading this Eastern organization to fight against their evil branch, the Hand and Society. And now it seems that this confrontation was successful, and the Shuhu has been completely destroyed and annexed. Originally, the old man with the stick thought that his life was almost over. But he did not expect that he would now set foot on this land again for his most beloved disciple. And go to Kunlun again. Although so many years have passed, the old man with the stick is no longer the agile young man he used to be. But the years have made him stronger. Although his eyes can no longer see, his mind has opened. There are many things in this world that he no longer needs to use his naked eyes to distinguish. He can see the truth and falsehood of the world in a deeper level. This time, the road to Kunlun is much easier than decades ago. Almost without much effort, the old man with the stick came to the intersection of Kunlun Mountain again. This intersection looks like just an ordinary hill in the western region of China. The vertical drop from the top of the hill to the ground is only more than 200 meters. In a mountainous area, this hill looks very ordinary and has no conspicuous place. But the old man with the stick knows that this place is the road to Kunlun. But the door to Kunlun must be opened from Kunlun. Otherwise, outsiders cannot force their way into Kunlun. After the old man with the stick arrived at the gate, he did not say much, nor did he shout for someone to help him open the door. He just knelt down slowly, facing the direction of Kunlun. And he knelt for 10 days. Kunlun Mountain is a different scene, just like Kamardaki is built between the Himalayas. Kamardaki is a special area built in the real world. Without the permission of the mages, outsiders can hardly enter Kamardaki. The same is true for Kunlun. They are also a special area built in the real world. They exist in this world but are independent of this world. Behind the invisible gate is a taller and more upright mountain. It is majestic and magnificent. The foot and the mountainside are always spring. but the top of the mountain is covered with snow all year round. A huge palace stands on the snow-covered mountain. The terraces extending from the foot to the mountainside are like a giant's ladder to heaven. It makes people want to sigh at the ingenuity of human beings. During the sowing season, the terraces are filled with clear water, and the sunlight reflects a sparkling light, just like the Queen Mother of the West broke the mirror of the heavenly palace and accidentally scattered it on the earth. The foot of the mountain is the place with the most buildings, and it is also the main activity place for people living in Kunlun. The buildings here are mostly in the style of the Han and Tang dynasties, occasionally interspersed with some Ming and Qing dynasty buildings, but this kind of buildings is very rare. It is more like moving the ancient Shanyang and Chang'an here intact. The buildings here are heavy in the Han dynasty, but the color matching is matched with the white walls and red pillars of the Tang dynasty. It is solemn but not lacking in agility. Compared with Kamataki, where only hundreds of mages live and study, Kunlun is undoubtedly larger. It accommodates at least nearly 50,000 people living and working here. This is a self-contained city. It has its own school, clinic and market. The actual controller of Kunlun is called Lei Guang. It is not Lei Xianzi in myths and legends. He is called Lei just because his surname is Lei, and he is old and noble, so everyone respectfully calls him Guang. As for what the Thunder God was originally called, no one knows. How long has the Thunder God lived? It's hard to say. If you ignore his silver hair and only look at his appearance, he is as strong as a 50-year-old Stallone. But there is a legend in Kunlun that the Thunder God will celebrate his 300th birthday this year. And this 300-year-old birthday star now asked the gatekeeper of Kunlun with an expressionless face, "Isn't he gone yet?" The he in the Thunder God's mouth refers to the stick old man kneeling at the door. He has been kneeling for 10 days. He didn't eat or drink, and there was no sign of moving in the wind and sun. Even if the stick old man has cultivated a very strong internal energy, kneeling outside for 10 consecutive days like this still greatly depletes his energy and life. The gatekeeper reported to Lei Guang, "Yes, he hasn't left yet, and in the past 10 days, I haven't seen him drink a drop of water or eat a grain of food. Even though it rained heavily the day before yesterday and there was a landslide outside, he didn't waver at all, and didn't feel the danger and want to leave. His willpower is very strong." "Yes, I know his willpower is very strong. I saw it when I was training that year," Lei Gong said in a low voice. When the gatekeeper heard Lei Gong say this, he was a little curious. "So, he is also from our Kunlun, shouldn't I open the door and let him in?" "Ah." Lei Gong sighed, "He is a very stubborn person. Let me go out and meet him." Outside the Kunlun mountain gate, the old man with a stick has been kneeling here for 10 days. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is on the verge of running out of energy. He kneels here not only to save kick-ass King David. At the same time, he also wants to make up for the mistakes he made that year and compensate for his guilt. So even if it is windy and rainy, he has no intention of wavering. However, kneeling outside like this for 10 days had already put a great strain on the stick man's body. Even though his internal energy had been well cultivated, he was old after all. His body functions had begun to slowly deteriorate. Just when he felt that he was about to collapse, a ray of light flashed, and the gate of Kunlun opened. And the tall and mighty old man in his memory appeared in front of him again. Just like decades ago. He stood there and asked him majestically, "Why are you looking for Kunlun?" Chapter 1189, Kunlun's New Look, Part 1. Originally, Lei Gong showed up to talk to the stick old man about why he reappeared in Kunlun. Because there was a reason why the stick old man left Kunlun and lost his eyes. Logically, the stick old man should not set foot on the land of Kunlun again, and he should drive him away directly when he saw him. But thinking of the experience of the stick old man learning from him, Lei Gong was still a little bit reluctant. He was a passionate young man back then, but now he is an old man with gray hair. Lei Gong softened his heart and decided to meet the stick old man, but the stick old man was really old. So many days of kneeling had exhausted all his physical strength. The moment he saw Lei Gong, the stick old man was ready to stand up, but the blood and ki surged up and his internal ki could not be suppressed. The stick old man felt a sharp pain in his brain, and then he lost consciousness. When the stick old man woke up, many days had passed, because he fainted at the gate of Kunlun, and Lei Gong couldn't just leave him there and watch him die. So Lei Gong could only bring back this former abandoned disciple of his and place him in the clinic for the doctors to treat him. Kunlun's clinic has very good medical skills. In addition to retaining various traditional Chinese herbal formulas and other special internal key treatment methods that only practitioners can master. At the same time, in recent years, many advanced treatment technologies including various drugs and equipment have been introduced from the outside world. Just like the limb regeneration surgery instruments produced by the Osborne Group, Kunlun also obtained several through special methods and placed them in the clinic for use. Although this blue brick and white wall clinic presents the overall architectural style of the Qin and Han dynasties, the interior is not really the same as that of the ancients. Water, electricity, coal, wires and networks are all available. Just like the bed where the stick old man is lying, it is also a liftable and foldable medical bed produced by a famous medical device manufacturer in China. The ventilator, electrocardiogram and other equipment next to it are also available. When the stick old man wakes up and wants to look around, the doctor in charge of him walks in. This is a very young doctor who looks only about 30 years old. But the old man with the stick knew that in Kunlun, you can't just look at the appearance of a person. Age is a very vague thing, because those who have cultivated their internal energy to a high level have some ability to keep their youth. He looks only 30 years old, but he might be over 50. It seems that you have recovered well, but you are a little weak. You should not need to use special medicine to treat you. I will ask the nurse to come and give you some glucose to help you recover your strength. After the doctor helped the old man with a simple examination, he prescribed his own treatment plan. The old man with the stick is in a relatively stable condition now and does not need special treatment. Just give him some nutrition to restore his strength. Thank you. The old man with the stick thanked him and looked at the environment of the clinic. The clinic is now very different from when he left Kunlun. At that time, the clinic in Kunlun was exactly the same as those traditional Chinese medicine clinics in traditional stories. But now, although this clinic still uses various Chinese herbal medicines, the decoration has changed. This is really different from the past. The old man with the stick muttered to himself. But now is not the time to sigh about the changes in the world. He asked the doctor, "Can you help me see Lei Guang? I have something important to ask him." The doctor recorded the current physical condition of the old man with the stick in a booklet, and said without raising his head, "Don't worry, Lei Gong has been watching us. If you wake up, notify him as soon as possible. I think you will be able to see Lei Gong in a while, so have a good rest." After saying that, the doctor turned and went out, and told Lei Gong about the old man with the stick waking up. Originally, Lei Gong was now explaining the basic internal energy training to the students in Kunlun Martial Arts School, and explaining the mental method of Lei's Tai Chi, the basic exercise of Kunlun martial arts. Originally, Lei Gong didn't need to teach these basic lessons, and there were still many outstanding graduates in Kunlun Martial Arts School who stayed in school. But every year there are new students entering the school. As the manager of Kunlun and the principal of Kunlun Martial Arts School, Lei Gong would at least show up in the first class of the new students to explain some martial arts experience to them. After receiving the news that the stick old man had woken up, Lei Gong stepped on his Xiaomi balance bike and headed towards the clinic after finishing teaching. It took Lei Gong 10 minutes to rush from Kunlun Martial Arts School to the clinic and saw the stick old man who had woken up. The stick old man was now lying on the bedboard. He didn't know if he could leave here. Because he was an abandoned disciple of Kunlun, he could only stay in his room and turn on the TV in front of him, listening to the new variety show Longing for Life Season 2 on Mango TV. "It looks like you have recovered well." Lei Gong pushed the door open and walked in. It happened that Wang Lei was cooking on TV at this time. Lei Gong took a look at the picture of Fatty Wang cooking and turned his attention to the stick old man. The stick old man was originally listening to TV. After hearing his original master Lei Gong coming in, the stick old man immediately turned off the TV and stood up. He bowed respectfully to Lei Gong. Lei Gong was far away, but he stretched out his hand and gently helped the old man with the stick. Before any contact, he had already helped the old man with the stick up. "You are already very old, so there is no need to do these empty formalities," Lei Gong said lightly. "The etiquette between master and apprentice cannot be abolished." The old man with the stick was still respectful. "Master and apprentice? Hey." Lei Gong sighed, and he didn't know what he was sighing about. The old man with the stick was really afraid that Lei Gong would suddenly say, "The relationship between you and me as master and apprentice has been severed." The old man with the stick has always been thinking about returning to the walls of Kunlun one day. "Forget it, I have always regretted driving you out of the walls all these years. Now I think that I was a little too stubborn back then." Lei Gong patted the old man with a stick on the shoulder. The rapid changes in the world over the years have also made me figure out a lot of things. And over the years, you have done a good job, especially in destroying the hand-in-hand society. Lei Gong said that destroying the hand-in-hand society was done well. That was because the hand-in-hand society had some grievances with Kunlun in the past. More than 400 years ago, during the Ming Dynasty in China, Japanese pirates invaded the country. The Japanese pirates burned, killed and looted along the coast of China. Behind this was the secret instigation of the Hand and the Society. At that time, the Iron Fist, who had just inherited the power of the dragon and obtained the title of Iron Fist, went down the mountain to travel, doing chivalrous deeds and honing his character and martial arts. At that time, the Iron Fist helped Qi Jiguang to kill a few Japanese pirates along the coast. Because of this, there were many hand-painted onmyoji and special ninjas trained by them among the Japanese pirates. These people were very difficult to deal with, and ordinary soldiers could not kill them. At that time, the Iron Fist fought against thousands of people alone. The onmyoji and those special ninjas of the Hand and the Society were killed, and they fled back from the southeast coast in disgrace. P.S. Note that in Marvel's official history of Kunlun, there is indeed a history of Iron Fist going down the mountain to drive away the Japanese pirates. I made some appropriate modifications to this official history so that the whole story and the world can be connected. Otherwise, if all the sects or heroes exist independently and pretend that each other does not exist, it would be too stupid. Chapter 1190 Kunlun's New Look. The Hand was originally the subordinate of the Beast. And the Beast is actually a little demon from hell. The Hand helped the Beast to start all kinds of killings, and then they collected all kinds of unjustly killed souls to satisfy the Beast's appetite and make the Beast stronger. And now their plan has been destroyed by Iron Fist. How can they accept it? So before retreating to the east, the leader of the Hand at that time set a trap to lure Iron Fist into the trap. They pretended to launch a final attack and landed somewhere on Zhejiang. More than a dozen pirate ships with thousands of Japanese pirates were going to sweep away a large amount of wealth here, and finally make a big deal and leave. Iron Fist, who got the news, arrived at the landing site before Qi Jiguang's army. Relying on the superb light body kung fu and the power of the dragon Iron Fist, directly smashed these pirate ships completely on the sea. The dragon Iron Fist, the power of each punch is like a heavy artillery bombardment, and the pirate ship was shattered under the Iron Fist. There was no survivor in the ship. At that time, Iron Fist had been fighting against Japanese pirates in coastal areas for many years, as well as ninjas and onmyojas under the Hand and Society, and had polished the power of the dragon Iron Fist to a very high level. The fighting power of the Iron Fist in the Ming Dynasty was far from being comparable to that of Daniel, who now gets a fixed salary in the Avengers and punches in and out every day. Of course, Daniel also made great contributions, such as taking back Randall Company and forcibly opening his father's super high-speed railway plan. Daniel is also a hero who changed the world, of course not because of his fist. Originally, this Iron Fist had great hope of becoming a real protector. But this sea attack completely destroyed this Iron Fist. Because when the battle was over, Iron Fist found that although there were some pirates on the pirate ship, there were more innocent people in the coastal areas who were taken as slaves by the pirates. There were men and women, old and young. The ninjas and onmyojas of the Hand and Society asked them to dress up as pirates and put on Ronin's clothes. And they used illusion to deceive people, looking like a group of real pirates. The Hand and the Society used this to deceive Iron Fist, and when Iron Fist discovered the truth of all this, the mistake had been made and could not be undone. Thousands of innocent people were killed by his own Iron Fist. The contemporary Iron Fist was filled with remorse. He could not help but have a demon in his heart. After forcing himself to return to Kunlun, Iron Fist's dragon power also dissipated. Because he felt regretful in his heart that he was not worthy of possessing the dragon power. Iron Fist, who was originally a great talent, was abolished because of the conspiracy of the Hand and the Society. Kunlun and the Hand and the Society have had an indelible hatred since then. And this hatred has continued to the modern times. Until the last 2 years, the Hand and the Society was finally destroyed and completely swallowed up by the Pure Innocence Society. The evil yin-yang magicians of the Hand and the demon ninjas were all purified by the Pure Innocence Society. Lei Gong was very relieved to receive this news, especially when he knew that the leader of the Pure Innocence Society was the old man with a stick who was driven out of the mountain gate by him. Lei Gong was filled with emotion. Who would have thought that after so many years, the stick old man who left could still avenge Kunlun? So when the stick old man knelt in front of the gate of Kunlun, Lei Gong thought of the past and finally chose to let the stick old man in. He even thought that he could just write off the mistakes that the stick old man had made. Take him back to the mountain gate. Of course, these are all changes in Lei Gong's own heart. The stick old man doesn't know what his master is thinking now. The stick old man is still a little uneasy. But when the stick old man was uneasy, Lei Gong patted him on the shoulder and said, "Let's go. You have been away from Kunlun for many years. Now that you are back, I will take you to appreciate the current appearance of Kunlun." Although the stick old man can't see now, he is still very happy to hear Lei Gong say this. He still feels very happy to be able to listen to the voices of the younger generations fighting and shouting in the martial arts field again. Lei Gong took the stick old man out of the hospital gate. Lei Gong patted his head. "I forgot to ask, can you use a balance bike?" "What?" The stick old man felt as if he had hallucinations. A balance bike is an electric vehicle that moves forward by relying on the inertia of balance when stepped on. Lei Gong was afraid that the stick old man didn't know what a balance bike was, so he took some trouble to explain it to the stick old man. "Of course I know this, but does it matter whether I can use a balance bike or not?" The stick old man had a different opinion. Now Kunlun advocates environmentally friendly travel and green travel. You know, the rules of Kunlun have always prohibited people from using their kung fu outside of related facilities such as martial arts training grounds, martial arts halls, and gymnasiums. In particular, it is not allowed to use light kung fu to travel in Kunlun City. Otherwise, those young people might be able to turn Kunlun City upside down. The stick old man was of course clear about what Lei Gong said. There were these rules when he was an apprentice here. But didn't we ride horses at that time? The stick old man thought of when he was young and had a beautiful white BMW in Kunlun City. How majestic he was when he was young and riding a horse. Riding horses has long been prohibited. Riding horses is nice. But there's horse manure everywhere in the city, which is not good for maintaining the cleanliness and sanitation of Kunlun City and the city environment. Especially the job of sweeping horse manure is now no longer wanted by anyone. Even if we drive a sweeper to sweep it, the smell of horse manure is too bad. The current population of Kunlun is 30,000. Even if we follow the minimum standard of 1 horse for every 3 people, there must be 10,000 horses in Kunlun City. Lei Gong shook his head. 10,000 horses? Do you know how much garbage is produced every day? Don't you think the air in Kunlun is much fresher this time? The old man with the stick sniffed hard. Before Lei Gong mentioned it, he really didn't notice it. Now that Lei Gong mentioned it, he smelled it carefully and it was true. The stench of horse manure and horse urine that had been floating in Kunlun City before was gone. So, in order to protect Kunlun's environment, we now prohibit riding horses and any gasoline-powered motor vehicles. So people usually use bicycles and balance bikes to travel. If you have a driver's license, you can also ride an electric bike. Of course, electric bikes must also be registered for easy management. Hearing what Lei Gong said, the stick old man was slightly stunned. Do you need a driver's license to ride an electric bike? Those people outside Kunlun who ride electric bikes seem to have never heard that they need to take a driver's license. Haha. Lei Gong sneered. So there are so many traffic accidents caused by those who ride electric bikes outside Kunlun. Those guys who don't take a driver's license and ride electric bikes randomly on the streets are more than 10 times more dangerous than those who ride motorcycles or cars. No driver's license, no points deducted, do whatever you want. Going against the flow, turning around on the spot, not looking at the rearview mirror, not listening to other people's horns, riding however they want, they don't care about their own and others' lives at all. In fact, electric bikes cause the most traffic accidents, far more than cars and motorcycles. If a traffic accident happens, electric vehicles are still a vulnerable group. Car and motorcycle owners must pay compensation no matter what. I can't do anything about it outside, but I have the final say in Kunlun. I said that electric vehicle drivers must take a driver's license and learn about traffic rules, then they must take the tests. Whoever dares to ride an electric vehicle here and violate the traffic rules, I will break his legs. These words from Lei Gong, who is already 300 years old, are still extremely domineering. Chapter 1191, One Day Tour of Kunlun. Kunlun has really changed a lot. Lei Gong brought his stick, and the two of them rode on Xiaomi balance bikes at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour on the streets of Kunlun City. Kunlun City is not big, but it is not small either. The population of Kunlun is 32,572. In other places in China, this population is the size of a township, and it is also a township with a not-so-rich population. But Kunlun is different. Compared with other places in China, Kunlun has retained more traditional things. For example, in terms of architecture, Kunlun still does not have any tall buildings. The tallest building is the 3-story teaching building of Kunlun Martial Arts School. The buildings in other places in Kunlun are mainly low, generally 1-story or 2-story. And the architectural style is mainly in the Han and Tang styles. They are all buildings that cover a large area and look very impressive. Even the house where an ordinary family of 3 lives is generally a courtyard with 1 entrance. The advantage of this kind of house is that it looks impressive, but the disadvantage is that the land utilization rate is very low. It may have a large space, but it is only suitable for 1 person to live in. Because of this, although Kunlun has only a population of more than 30,000, there are many and large buildings at the foot of the mountain. It is obviously only a small town of 30,000 people, but it looks like a town with more than 100,000 people living there. Moreover, the roads in Kunlun are particularly wide, because Leguang does not allow any motor vehicles that emit exhaust gas to drive in Kunlun City, so the 6-lane wide road is full of electric vehicles. Someone originally said that this road should be replaced from bluestone to asphalt, but I refused. Leguang said as he shuttled through Kunlun City with a stick old man. The bluestone road is just right for the students of the martial arts school to practice during the day. It is much better than asphalt roads. The stick old man knew what Leguang meant by practicing martial arts. Because the bluestone road has a defect, that is, the problem of wear and tear. Once the bluestone is worn, it is difficult to repair, and what Leguang meant by letting students practice martial arts is to let the students try their best to smooth the worn areas. And this so-called smoothing means taking out the entire stone slab, raising the foundation and then wiping off a whole layer of bluestone slabs. Moreover, Kunlun has never allowed students to use too many tools to do these things. Generally, polishing is handed over to students who have practiced iron sand palm, Vajra palm or other martial arts, and let them polish it by hand. Now both sides of the road are greened. I didn't have this awareness back then. Now I see other cities doing this, and I think it's pretty good. It can not only help the buildings on both sides to soundproof, but also provide shade for pedestrians on the roadside. It's not bad. But it's very troublesome to trim. Leguang led the stick old man through the green streets. There are shrubs and trees in the greening, but these greens cannot be allowed to grow randomly in the city, so regular trimming is necessary. Just when Leguang and the stick old man passed by, the students of the Sharp Weapon Department of Kunlun Martial Arts School were trimming branches with their long swords, daggers, spears and other weapons. In Kunlun, there is really practice everywhere. The Vajra palm is used to repair the road, and the Duyu-9 swords are used to trim the shrubs. The chef who cooks uses the Liang Heart method, and the owner of the small shop that makes cold-cut fruit plates and shaved ice uses the ice key. Hearing those familiar voices, the old man felt an inexplicable sense of peace. This is still the Kunlun he is familiar with. Kunlun should be like this. Of course, Kunlun has changed a lot. For example, Kunlun did not have street lights before, but now street lights are installed on both sides of the road, and they are the kind that store electricity with solar panels, which is environmentally friendly and energy saving. Every household is connected to water, electricity, coal and broadband internet. We in Kunlun now also have gigabit fiber optic access to households. Leguang said with some emotion, it's a pity that Teobayo can't deliver it. Every time, we can only let the staff of the external office receive it and bring it all in at once. Everything in the western region is good. I like the lamb skewers, lamb pilaf and honeydew melon and grapes here. The only bad thing is that Teobayo is not convenient. The Xiaomi S8 I wanted to buy last time took a month to be delivered to me. Leguang was a little dissatisfied. The old man with the stick was a little embarrassed. He said, "You also use a mobile phone." Of course. People have to keep up with the times. 300 years ago, people still relied on business travel to get information from far away. Now there are more convenient means, so naturally we have to learn and master them. If you can't even use Sina Weibo and Taoxiao, how can you grasp the world's major events in the first place? What Lei Gong said made a lot of sense, and the old man with the stick felt that he couldn't refute it. Well, your interruption reminded me that it's time to steal the vegetables from Lao Gu's house. As he spoke, Lei Gong opened QQ on his mobile phone, logged into the mobile QQ farm and started a series of operations. Not knowing what expression to use to look at his master's current appearance, the old man with the stick thought it would be better not to use any expression. After stealing the unicorn and phoenix raised in Lao Gu's farm with satisfaction, Lei Gong took the old man with the stick to continue the tour. This is the public activity lounge, which has prepared various entertainment and rest areas for the students of Kunlun Martial Arts School. To be honest, I admire the imagination of those game makers out there. They have made many action fighting games, and some of the ideas in them can bring some inspiration to our teachers and students. Create more useful combat skills. This is the King Gong competition venue, which has two types of obstacle courses and speed races. All of them use electronic eye referees, so the results of the King Gong competitions of ordinary students can be better judged. This is the martial arts competition arena. You also fought a lot of battles here when you were young. Now we have innovated and divided it into simulation competitions and real competitions. The real competition is the same as you did before, but for the simulation competition, we got inspiration from those fighting games. We created a health bar for the current students, and the game is over when the health bar is lost. This is a gym. We have thrown away things like stone locks. The design of the barbell is more reasonable than the stone lock, and it can make a larger weight. The specially made treadmill can reach a high speed of 250 km per hour, which is fully sufficient for ordinary students to train King Gong. Along the way, the old man with the stick also found that Kunlun has changed a lot. He asked, "It seems that the connection between Kunlun and the outside world is getting deeper and deeper. We just walked past a martial arts school, and there seem to be many people outside Kunlun. Not many, only about 200 places are accepted every year. They are the seedlings selected by the Shenmiao Bureau from various high schools across the country and sent to us. After 8 years of study, they will enter the Shenmiao Bureau to work. Many disciples of Kunlun who have gone to the mortal world to experience will also choose to work in the Shenmiao Bureau," Lei Gong said calmly. "After all, the world has changed. Now we can't use force to disrupt the law at will. However, although Kunlun disciples must abide by the rules, the heart of chivalry cannot be abandoned. Seeing injustice on the road, drawing the sword to help is the heart of justice that every Kunlun disciple must uphold. Although the times have changed, some of the inheritance of Kunlun disciples will not change." After taking the old man with the stick to visit the new Kunlun, Lei Gong took the old man with him to have lunch. Lunch was eaten at a restaurant called Juxiangquan, which is the largest hotel in Kunlun. When Gun Sao left, this restaurant didn't exist yet. It was opened only in the last 20 years. When the boss was young, he was an apprentice at a hotel in Guangzhou. He became famous in a dumpling competition. He is also the youngest top chef in China, a record that has not been broken until now. He came to Kunlun by chance. Because his cooking skills were so great, I did everything I could to get rid of him and stay. Now he has settled down in Kunlun. Lei Gong introduced the hotel to Gun Sao. Come on, the best dish of this boss Xiaolio is here, magic mapo tofu with giant panda. I also ordered noodles, halong pot, and miracle comet fried rice. These are not available outside. You haven't been to Kunlun for a long time, so try them. It must be said that this chef Xiaolio's cooking skills are really good." In that instant, Gun Sao even felt that his blind eyes had recovered. He didn't know if it was an illusion. Chapter 1192 The Mystery of the Weakest Iron Fist in History. Lei Gong brought a stickman to experience the new look of Kunlun. Compared with a few decades ago, Kunlun has really changed dramatically. Kunlun was originally a martial arts holy land in China. It is different from the martial arts holy lands, such as Wudang and Shaolin that have been praised by the mass film and television media with various names and propaganda. In this world, Kunlun is a place where the real martial arts tradition has never been cut off. How long has Kunlun existed? Probably how long the history of China is. Kunlun has almost the same history. There are many legends about the birth of Kunlun. It is said that Kunlun was originally the land of immortals. All kinds of immortals once gathered here and recruited disciples here. But the magic of immortals is not suitable for mortals to practice, so the immortals transformed the immortals into martial arts that ordinary people can practice. And this is the earliest origin of Kunlun martial arts. Later, through the successive rulers of Kunlun and the geniuses who have emerged for thousands of years, the martial arts passed down by the immortals have been continuously improved and created, making it more suitable for ordinary people to practice, and the power of Kunlun has grown day by day. Although the stories that Kunlun martial arts come from immortals have elements of myths and legends, the dragon worshipped on the top of Kunlun Mountain proves this statement from another aspect. Kunlun may really have an inseparable relationship with the immortals. Maybe everything is true. Most of the martial arts masters in the legends of knights in ancient China were disciples who came down from Kunlun Mountain to practice in the mortal world. And they taught some less important external skills to people from the outside world. Just like Shaolin, Wudang or those sects that have appeared in legends, most of their skills actually originated from Kunlun. It is hard to say in other worlds, but in this Marvel world, the saying that the world's martial arts come from Shaolin is a bit incorrect. It should be more accurate to say that the world's martial arts come from Kunlun. However, the external skills of the outside world are always ordinary external skills. It is impossible for Kunlun disciples to pass on the real core skills of their own Kunlun. In addition, the turbulent times, for thousands of years, the land of China has always been divided and united, and the land of China has always been divided and united. Such wars have led to the inheritance of the outside world being easily interrupted. When martial arts in the outside world have become a kind of myth and legend, the torch of inheritance in Kunlun has never been cut off. Especially the huge Shenlong Palace on the top of Kunlun Mountain. Shenlong Shalio is enshrined inside. Every generation of Iron Fist candidates must climb to the top of Kunlun Mountain to accept various tests, and finally be selected by Shenlong to inherit the power of Shenlong. And every Iron Fist will accept the power of Shenlong and polish it carefully. In most cases, the Iron Fist with the power of Shenlong is a man of the moment. When the life of the Iron Fist is about to end, the power of Shenlong will be returned to Shenlong Palace. No one can take the power of Shenlong into his own grave. On the contrary, after they carefully polish and practice the power of Shenlong, the power of Shenlong will become more and more powerful. This is just like the magic skill of the wedding dress practiced by Yan Nanshan in Gulong's novels. The inheritance of Iron Fist is passed down from one generation to another, and it should be stronger than the previous generation. Of course, there have been some problems in the inheritance of Iron Fist. For example, when the Phoenix attacked 1,000 years ago, Wu Fengji, the then Iron Fist, exhausted all the dragon power and her own blood essence, and smashed the Phoenix that might destroy the earth with one punch. Wu Fengji is the kind of genius that can only be seen once in 5,000 years. The power of the dragon is extremely powerful in her hands, and she is the most capable of all the Iron Fists. She has a very good affinity with the power of the dragon and is a natural dragon girl. She upholds a sense of justice and abides by the way of the dragon's protection. She practiced her own way and implemented her own ideas. She protected the earth and smashed the Phoenix, but the price was her own death, and she exhausted the dragon power accumulated for thousands of years, leaving only the dragon fire to return to the Dragon Hall. The second time the Kunlun Iron Fist inheritance encountered a huge setback occurred in the Ming Dynasty. The Iron Fist who fought against the Japanese pirates and was deceived in the end, resulting in the dissipation of the Heart Demon dragon power. Although he did not exhaust the dragon power like Wu Fengji, he also damaged the dragon power and needed to accumulate it again. After taking the Stick Old Man to visit the Ligongs in various places in Kunlun, he finally took the Stick Old Man to a rest room on the hillside of Kunlun Mountain. This is not only a rest room, but also the entrance to the Dragon Hall on the top of the mountain. Every Iron Fist competition starts from here and then continues to climb up. The contestants will encounter various obstacles in the middle, and only those who overcome these obstacles are qualified to meet the dragon. In the rest room, Li Guang waved to the two people on duty here. The two people retreated very tactfully. Li Guang asked the Stick Old Man to sit down, but he went to make a cup of tea for the Stick Old Man. This is a very rude thing in the master-disciple relationship in China. How can an apprentice let the master make tea? So the Stick Old Man was at a loss. He wanted to help but was pressed on the chair by Li Gong and could not move. Okay, drink it, you look less energetic than me now. Li Guang forcibly handed a cup of brewed baluchan to the Stick Old Man. I brought you here, I guess you should understand what I mean. Li Gong asked lightly while holding hot tea. The old man with the stick was a little nervous. He naturally knew why Li Gong asked him to come here again. Because he had made the biggest mistake here before. When the young old man with the stick joined Kunlun, He also heard the legends of the Iron Fists of the past generations. When he was young, he was also extremely envious and yearning, hoping that he could become such a legendary peerless master one day. But it was strange at that time. The previous Iron Fist was obviously very old. His body could no longer control the power of the dragon, so he had returned the power of the dragon early. According to reason, the new Iron Fist selection should have started at this time, but Lei Gong, the ruler of Kunlun, has not announced the start of the next round of Iron Fist selection. Most people dare not question Lei Gong's decision, because Lei Gong always has his reasons for doing so. But the young old man with the stick is more or less a little frivolous and proud. He was extremely eager to become the Iron Fist, so he secretly climbed up to the entrance of the Dragon Palace, located halfway up the mountain several times. Looking at the huge Dragon Palace on the top of the mountain, he longed to become the Iron Fist one day. But this place usually does not allow ordinary Kunlun disciples to come up. But when he was young, he was good at Qinggong, and he sneaked in without the guard's inspection, and he did this again and again. After coming here, the stick old man did nothing else, just stayed here hoping that the intersection leading to the Dragon Palace would suddenly open, and the dragon would see him and choose him to be the Iron Fist. Originally, sneaking here was not a big deal. Even if he was caught, he would be scolded at most, or locked up in a small dark room. But that day, the stick old man heard words that he should never hear. He saw things that he should never see. For this reason, Lei Gong destroyed his eyes and drove him out of Kunlun, and forced him to swear a solemn oath that he would never say a word of what he saw and heard that day. Otherwise, I will kill him at the end of the world. Today, Lei Gong brought up the old story again. The old man with the stick smiled bitterly. I know. I heard things I shouldn't have heard and saw things I shouldn't have seen. I know why the two recent generations of Iron Fists are so weak. Especially the contemporary Iron Fist Daniel. He can't even become the top leader in a second-rate superhero organization like the Avengers. Although the power of the dragon has been greatly reduced after two dissipations, in the hundreds of years since the Ming Dynasty, successive Iron Fists have continued to hone and practice the power of the dragon. By the end of the Qing Dynasty, the power of the dragon had recovered a lot. At least it could reach the level of strength of the Manchu Zhang Tong in the Battle of New York. The old man with the stick held a teacup tightly. His tone was a little trembling. I know, because I saw and heard what you said. Because the power of the dragon has dissipated. Lei Gong stared at the old man with the stick, and after a long time, he drank the tea in the cup in his hand. Lei Gong let out a long sigh and said, so in recent decades, many people in Kunlun Mountain have doubted me. They think I tampered with the Iron Fist selection competition and allowed 2 Americans to obtain the qualification to inherit the Iron Fist twice in a row. But how can they understand my painstaking efforts? Yes, I did do all kinds of tricks in the competition to exclude every Kunlun player with extraordinary talent from the competition. Even if they can enter the competition, they will fail due to various setbacks. Why do you let Randall and his son inherit the Iron Fist one after another? That's because the power of the dragon is gone. I can only give them a pseudo-dragon power with the breath of the dragon. Foreigners always have a superficial understanding of Chinese culture. They always have some specious understandings, and with my deception, they will not question what is wrong with the dragon power. But if a native Chinese player inherits the Iron Fist, then no matter what I say or what excuses I use, they will only need a few years to find out that the dragon power is fake. So I don't regret Daniel inheriting this Iron Fist. He has no doubts about his own dragon Iron Fist, and I will not stop him from going to the United States. I hope Daniel lives a long life, preferably 100 or 200 years. Lei Gong was helpless. Because I can't transform into the power of the dragon. Without the Iron Fist, can Kunlun still maintain its cohesion? Listening to Lei Gong's words, the old man with the stick didn't know whether he should envy or sympathize with Daniel and his son. But no matter what, it is an honor to inherit the title of Iron Fist. I wanted to ask for it but couldn't, and I paid a huge price for it. When the old man with the stick thought of this, his heart suddenly moved. Lei Gong was willing to talk to him about this. Does it mean that he has forgiven his mistakes? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1193 Who is Coming? There is a reason why Lagong chose Daniel and his son to inherit the Iron Fist. It is not because of how talented Daniel and his son are, how suitable they are to inherit the power of the dragon. In fact, the real reason is that Daniel and his son are foreigners, and foreigners are easier to fool. The power of the dragon disappeared. If it were replaced by a Chinese who is very familiar with Chinese culture and various legendary martial arts cultures, then it would not take long for the disappearance of the power of the dragon to be discovered. Because many people have more or less some concept of the dragon. Although these concepts are all from myths and legends, some are true and some are false. But some basic information is still correct. Because there is a certain familiarity and goodwill with the dragon, the natives of Kunlun, or the short-term practitioners who come to Kunlun from China to practice, are not suitable to inherit the current Iron Fist name. Because the power of the dragon is gone, the Iron Fist of the dragon used by Daniel now is not as good as the aftertaste of the power of the dragon. The real power of the dragon is gone. And the power that Kunlun has been inheriting for so many years, and that makes all Kunlun people work together, is the Iron Fist of the dragon. This is like a monument of faith. As long as the Iron Fist does not fall, the faith of Kunlun will last forever. Although it is a little difficult for many Kunlun people to accept that two Americans who do not seem to have extraordinary abilities and talents have inherited the Shenlong Iron Fist. But if you inherit the Shenlong Iron Fist, then you are the Iron Fist. This will not change in the hearts of Kunlun people, no matter who the successor is. Even if it is a black uncle, as long as the Shenlong designates him to inherit, everyone will respect him as the Iron Fist. So it is very suitable for Daniel and his son to inherit the Iron Fist. They have a vague concept of Chinese culture and the Shenlong. And they also have a thought in their hearts: is it because I am a foreigner that I cannot grasp the essence of the power of the Shenlong? Lagong put down the finished teacup. He stood up and looked out the window of the lounge halfway up the mountain, overlooking the Kunlun city at the foot of the mountain. As long as the Iron Fist is still there, no, to be more precise, as long as the Shenlong is still there, then the faith in Kunlun will not collapse. Most Kunlun people have mastered various powerful abilities. Because we believe in the Shenlong, we are strict with ourselves. We abide by the ways of protection and inheritance. Over the years, although there have occasionally been some traitors in Kunlun who use martial arts to do evil in the outside world, but generally speaking, we have always been restrained and forbearing. Because all of this is the teaching of the Shenlong. Lagong said these words, and the old man with the stick remained silent. If the belief in the dragon collapses, how many people will doubt the correctness of our education over the years? The dragon taught us the way of protection and justice. But when something really happened, the dragon disappeared. So can everything the dragon said be trusted? Maybe it's all a scam. Lagong turned his head and looked at the dragon hall on the other side. I believe that many people will completely reverse their beliefs. By then, the more they worship the dragon, the more they will hate the dragon. And everything that Kunlun has been holding on to for all these years will be broken. The old man with the stick didn't say anything, but he knew that what Lagong said was true. It was just like the shock he felt when he first learned the news. That year, he sneaked up the halfway point of Kunlun Mountain and secretly heard the conversation between Lagong and someone. The old man with the stick still vaguely remembered the content of the conversation. One night decades ago, Lagong was talking to a mysterious middle-aged man. The dragon disappeared. Yes, that's right. But it's not just the dragon that disappeared. To be more precise, the entire heaven is gone. What? Don't be too surprised, Thunder God. You have been in charge of Kunlun for so many years. You should know some of Kunlun's little secrets. Yes, Kunlun does have a little secret. As long as the Iron Fists of all generations accept the power of the dragon and get the permission of the dragon, they will have the opportunity to ascend to the heaven and receive guidance from the Jade Emperor and other celestial beings. They can also challenge the immortal trap formation. If they can get through it, the strength of the Iron Fist will make a qualitative leap and even become stronger than those who require celestial beings from heaven. Yes, that's right. Kunlun is the step leading to the heaven. From here you can go to the Yaoqi of the Queen Mother of the West. It is the connection point between the kingdom of heaven and this world. But now the heaven has closed this entrance. And took away the dragon that originally opened the entrance. And took away all the power of the dragon. Why do you do this? Because these cowards are scared. They are just as scared as those bald donkeys in the Western paradise. Bah! These two gangs are still cursing Odin and his men of Asgard as a group of brainless barbarians all day long. But in my opinion, At least these barbarians are much braver than them. Afraid? What are you afraid of? The legendary catastrophe. Both heaven and paradise have gods who are good at deduction, and they have calculated that the legendary catastrophe will begin in this world. So they are deceiving themselves and want to close the mountain gate and stay far away, not wanting to have anything to do with this world at all. Even if they leave the power of the dragon, they are afraid of being implicated. You know, the relationship between heaven and paradise has always been interdependent. Although the person who said this was a middle-aged man, there was a rebellious look in his eyes that had never been extinguished. These two gangs are still cursing Odin and his men of Asgard as a group of brainless barbarians. But in my opinion, at least these barbarians are much braver than them. At least they dare to stay here and face the possible dangers. Legong clenched his hands and then relaxed and clenched again. After doing this many times, he spoke again. So why did you come back this time? Because I was born in this world. How can I watch this world perish? It's their business if they want to escape, but I don't plan to escape. The middle-aged man raised his hand. But these cowards were afraid that I would cause trouble for them. They actually attacked me before I left and wanted to tie me up. I escaped, but one of my hands was sealed by the seal formation set up by the 108 Arhats led by Tathagata. This made my strength decline too much, and I need to practice and polish to remove the seal again. The middle-aged man's right hand was tightly wrapped with iron chains, and the iron chains were engraved with dense Sanskrit patterns. The old man with the stick, who was secretly watching and listening to all this, didn't even dare to breathe, because he seemed to know an incredible secret. But who is this man? Until now, the old man with the stick still doesn't know the identity of the middle-aged man. But judging from the respectful attitude of the thunder god, the other party must be a person of noble status. The other party just mentioned the legendary heaven and the western paradise. Could it be that the immortals and Buddhas in this myth really exist? Yes. If the dragon exists, then it is not surprising that the immortals and Buddhas exist. The old man with the stick didn't dare to run away at that time, because he was hiding here without any movement, blending into everything. In this way, the thunder god and the middle-aged man didn't find him. But if he moved, he might be exposed. Originally, the old man with the stick wanted to dodge, but he broke the next second. Because the thunder god respectfully asked the middle-aged man, "Then what can Kunlun do to help you, the great sage equaling heaven?" "What?" Exclamation mark. The old man with the stick was struck by lightning. What did he hear? Could it be that the middle-aged man I heard and saw was actually the one in the myth? There may be many people in China who cannot recite the names of the four heavenly kings, who are not Andy Lau, Jackie Chun, Aaron Kwok, and Leon Lai. Some people do not know what the surname of the Jade Emperor should be. At the same time, they do not know what the relationship between Sakyamuni, Bodhidharma, and Tathagata Buddha is. But almost everyone knows the name of a deity and his legend. Over there is the great sage equaling heaven, the Earth Walker, the demon king of the three realms, Sun Wukong. Chapter 1194. The past is gone. After so many years, the old man could not forget everything he heard and saw that day. The power of the dragon disappeared? A great disaster was about to happen? And most importantly, there was a living Sun Wukong standing in front of him? The first two were fine, but the last one, the living Sun Wukong standing in front of him, made the old man at a loss. The story of Journey to the West has been told by storytellers for more than 100 years. There are also countless classic songs and major dramas. Although Journey to the West tells the story of four masters and apprentices, the most fascinating one is always Sun Wukong. It was also because he was too surprised that the old man accidentally made a sound, which led to his discovery by Legong. In the end, Legong captured the old man, and the old man told him everything he saw and heard. He heard everything he shouldn't have heard. Originally, Legong should have dealt with the old man directly, because these things here really shouldn't be known to anyone. This matter concerns the survival and faith of Kunlun, so it is not too much to be careful. As a superior, sometimes you have to be ruthless. But Legong couldn't bear it in the end. He didn't get rid of the stick old man, but he crippled his eyes and forced him to swear a solemn oath before leaving Kunlun. Because if he stayed in Kunlun, perhaps all the secrets would be lost. At this point, the stick old man felt that everything he saw back then was like a dream, and there was an unspeakable, unrealistic feeling. But everything he had suffered over the years repeatedly reminded him that everything was real. I was indeed a little stubborn at the time, and I was afraid. I was afraid that everything in Kunlun would collapse, So I made such a wrong decision back then, taking away your eyes and driving you out of Kunlun. I have often regretted my decision back then over the years. Lei Gong felt a little guilty. No, your decision back then was not wrong. The stick old man shook his head. In fact, if I were in your position at the time, maybe I would be more direct and decisive. The current stick old man is no longer the young boy he was back then. As the leader of the Pure Innocence Society, he led the Pure Innocence Society to grow stronger over the years. He also annexed and eliminated the Hand in Harmony Society. It can be said that he has experienced a lot of things, including various killings and the like. The Stickso himself has also experienced it. When fighting against the Hand in Harmony Society, the Stickso has never been merciful. When there is a traitor in the Pure Innocence Society, even if the person has a good relationship with him before, he still has to take action when it is time. This is the responsibility that a leader must bear. Lei Gong glanced at the Stickso and sighed. All the past grievances dissipated in this sigh. Tell me, what do you want to do when you return to Kunlun this time? Lei Gong stood in front of the Stickso and asked him. He was also very curious about what the Stickso wanted to do after leaving Kunlun for so many years. And the Stickso also knew that Lei Gong didn't want to talk about the past now. Whether it was the disaster he heard about that year, or the appearance of Sun Wukong in this world, it might be better for him to know less. For my disciples. After I left Kunlun, I accepted 3 more disciples. One is Panchi, a descendant of the ninja from the East Pure Innocence Society. The other is Matt, the street hero daredevil, who is now well known in the United States. I taught these 2 some external skills and some physical skills, but I did not teach them the core skills of Kunlun. After leaving Kunlun, the old man did not violate the conventions of Kunlun. Without the permission of Thunder God, the disciples of Kunlun outside are not allowed to pass on the core skills of Kunlun to people outside. Only some external skills can be passed on, and Matt and Panchi are the 2 disciples that the old man accepted outside. Although the old man handed over the Pure Innocence Society to Panchi and handed over the Hand in Society to Matt, allowing the 2 to have a huge power organization. But the most core things of his own were not handed over to the 2. Lei Gong asked calmly, the key is your 3rd disciple, right? Yes, my 3rd disciple. He is a very rare young man in the world today. He has no distractions, is not driven by interests, and is not blinded by fame or hatred. With a sincere heart and a passion for doing good things, he will do good things just for the sake of doing good things. He helps others just because the person needs help. Even if he knows that he is facing an invincible enemy, he still fights to the last moment and never gives up. Some people laugh at him for being a brainless and hot-blooded fool. But there are too few such brainless and hot-blooded fools in this world. Upholding justice just for justice itself. He clearly holds the largest civilian street hero power in New York City, but he never acts arbitrarily. Although he can show off, he has never been really high profile. When he didn't have power, he was willing to say no to criminals who robbed others, and after gaining a certain amount of power, he put his power into society. He returned the community park that was originally occupied by gangsters to the community residents, organized everyone to clean up the dirty community, and took the lead himself. He was willing to use the money he earned from working to buy paint and tools to repaint the dirty streets that were randomly graffitied by gangsters. He and his companions patrol at midnight to help those in need. Those girls who were entangled by drunkards, those passers-by who were drunk on the streets in winter, and prevented various crimes that happened in the dark. And when a disaster strikes, he will also go to the disaster area with his companions to help with disaster relief. The old man with a stick said quietly, and what he said was not exaggerated. These are what David has done over the years. Lei Gong listened to what the old man with a stick said and smiled slightly. He has been doing this for 3 years. Although there are many heroes in this world, those superheroes who are teleported, such as the Weather Witch and the Sword Master in China, and Captain America and Iron Man in the United States. But I have always believed that my 3rd disciple is a superhero no less than them. He just needs time to grow up. Lei Gong nodded. What is his name? David Lesnicus. The stick old man said quickly. So you passed the core skills of Kunlun to him. Lei Gong did not show any particular dissatisfaction, but the stick old man still felt a little guilty. He said, no, it should be said that at least it is not the real core skills. I only taught him the introductory breathing technique of Kunlun to cultivate internal energy and my own improved Kunlun stick method. So you actually thought about letting him come to Kunlun at the right time and start real practice here, right? The stick old man did not refute Lei Gong's words. He did have such an idea. He wanted to bring David to Kunlun when he grew up a little bit, and then he would ask David to enter Kunlun to practice. Because what I can teach him is still too little. Only by practicing in Kunlun can he learn more. He has always dreamed of becoming a real superhero. I also think he should become that kind of superhero. To become a superhero, he needs more strength and experience. After all, David is not a person who excels in IQ and EQ. He can't rely on his excellent IQ and EQ to become a superhero. But my plan has changed now, because David is now seriously injured. The meridians in his body are broken and his dantian is broken. Even if he survives, he can't practice anymore. This must be an unbearable blow to him. As a master, I should help him at this time. Lei Gong thought that the old man came to Kunlun just to let his third disciple return to Kunlun. Lei Gong thought about what happened in the past and said, in that case, then bring your third disciple David here. Anyway, it's not the first time that Kunlun has accepted foreign disciples. Many people here can speak English, and many people watch American TV series and Hollywood movies for entertainment. Lei Gong said this, which is a statement. In a way, it is completely no longer pursued and forgiven what the old man did in the past. Originally, the old man was very happy, but now the old man is not happy. He said, he probably can't come now. Why? Are you still studying in the United States? You can apply for studying abroad. I have some relationship with Xiao Zheng, the director of the Shenmiao Bureau. As long as your disciple applies to study in China, I can let him pass. It's not difficult to come to Kunlun in the name of studying abroad. Lei Gong helped the old man think of a countermeasure. No, it's more difficult than studying abroad. David is now a useless person. The old man was full of bitterness. Chapter 1195 Retirement. New York City, Osborne Medical Center. David is still lying in bed, and he still hasn't woken up. After Mindy and Laura's treatment, their injuries have recovered. After knowing that David was seriously injured, the two girls were extremely worried. Think of a way. Mindy grabbed Li Ji's hand. Don't you know a lot of strange people? Is there no one who can help? Mindy's eyes widened. Although Laura was silent, she could see the worry on her face. Although David's life is no longer in danger, he has not woken up. Because the struggle between the internal energy and the desperate virus in his body is getting stronger and stronger, the two sides are incompatible. The desperate virus is maintaining David's body from collapse, and the internal energy is maintaining David's blood circulation. The embarrassing thing is that these two energies are indispensable, because the two energies are in a delicate balance. If a certain energy is suddenly withdrawn, David is likely to have a complete collapse of a certain function of his body. This is very embarrassing. Although Li Ji and his team have now obtained the serum to clear the desperate virus, they dare not inject David. After Mindy and Laura woke up, they kept pestering Li Ji and others, asking them to cure David. After spending a lot of effort to appease the two girls and coaxing them to rest in the ward, Li Ji was a little confused. In fact, he had thought of many ways. David now looked a bit like Ling Hu Chong in the novel Swordsman. There were two different kinds of true ki in his body tearing each other apart, and neither of them would give in. This was very troublesome, because in the novel, Ling Hu Chong's way of resolving all this was to first practice Xingxing Defa to absorb the different kinds of true ki for his own use. Finally, he practiced Yijin Jing to remove the root of the disease. Only then was Ling Hu Chong considered to have completely recovered from the disease. Now facing David, who had the same disease as Ling Hu Chong, Li Ji couldn't change a Xingxing Defa or Yijin Jing or something like that. If his system hadn't crashed yet, he might be able to get something similar. But now the system has been offline for a long time. Ancient One also said that the system might be the fire of the universe or something, which is a very complex and profound thing. If it disappears, it can't be found. So there is no system to rely on. Li Ji can only mobilize his own connections to find a way. He first found Daniel Iron Fist and Shang Qi, who worked in the Xianjian Bureau. Both of them came from Kunlun, and they should have a lot of research on the conflict of internal energy. Although Li Ji himself is also practicing the inner power and mysterious power, he has no way to eliminate David's energy conflict except that he has a big Sunchathagata key skill that is considered to be neutral and peaceful and can help David suppress the conflict between the two energies. So Li Ji found these two people he is more familiar with to help. 3 cobblers are better than Zhuge Liang. What's more, Lychee also claims that he is as a huge liang himself. But the self-proclaimed huge liang is always just a self-proclaimed huge liang, not a real huge liang. The three cobblers discussed it for a while and didn't find a practical way to completely change David's current situation. Finally, the three tried to activate David by stimulating internal energy, which was somewhat useful. David was woken up by three people, which was the best news in recent days. Mindy and Laura were very happy that day. They even went to a pastry shop they liked very much and bought cheesecake to the hospital to celebrate. The Father Avengers also came, and everyone expressed their gratitude to David. David, who woke up that day, enjoyed the treatment of an emperor. He didn't even need to eat the cake by himself. Because his hands were not convenient yet, someone fed him. It was the first time that he was surrounded by a group of superheroes to thank him. Although he was injured, David felt that his injury was worth it. I am also a superhero like this. David smiled brightly. David spent a very happy few hours on the day he woke up. However, Lychee, dressed as a night walker, did not show much emotion. Although David was woken up by a few people, the most fundamental problem was still not solved by them. The two groups of alien energy in David's body and his broken dantian. All of this made it impossible for him to continue practicing. It can even be said that all the practice he had done in the past 3 years was in vain and no longer exists. David hasn't realized this yet. He still thinks that he feels a little weak because he has just recovered from a serious injury. After the excitement died down, Lychee drove away all those who came to thank and celebrate with David. Wait, we haven't finished building Lego yet. Mindy and Laura were still protesting when Lychee carried them out of the ward one by one. David is still a patient now, and patients need to rest. Let's build Lego tomorrow. Lychee sent the two girls out without any explanation. In fact, David wanted to say that he felt good now and could continue to build the Bugatti sports car of the Lego Technic group. But the tone of the night walker sounded unkind, so David really didn't dare to speak. After sending the two girls away, Lychee took a deep breath. Then he closed the door of the ward and walked in front of David. Do you think everything is okay? Facing the night walker's question, David quickly said, yes, very good. I feel as if I have recovered. Oh, of course I know I still need to rest for a while. I do feel a little weak. Just a little. Lychee's mouth moved slightly. Huh? Isn't it right? David felt his body. He was very lively just after waking up. He didn't have time to examine what was wrong with his body. But now when the night walker asked this question, David began to enter a state of introspection. This is the method that the old man with the stick gave him after he taught him to breathe, which can be used to check the running of his internal energy. When David looked at the situation inside his body, he was stunned. After a long time, he took a breath of cold air, and his voice trembled. This. All your meridians have been broken. Dantian is also broken. Although we have saved you now and you survived, I have to tell you with regret. The night walker sighed. You can't be Kick-Ass anymore. Maybe you should return to your normal life and let Kick-Ass retire. Night walker patted David on the shoulder, and David felt as if 1,000 pounds were weighing on him. The boy suddenly lost his voice. Chapter 1196 Unwilling. Although he was very sorry, Lychee had no other options now. David's meridians were all broken and his dantian was shattered. Although the desperate virus helped him repair many of his injuries and allowed him to live like a normal person again, he could no longer continue to practice as before. Because the energy in his body was in a balanced stage, if he continued to practice and broke this balance, it would most likely cause his body to collapse directly. So Lychee could only say to David, maybe you can only resume your normal life, study hard, and go to a good university. Kick-Ass should probably retire. Lychee's words completely stunned David. It took him a long time before he seemed to regain consciousness. With a twitch of the corner of his mouth, he whispered, will I never be a superhero again? Although the reality is cruel, Lychee had to nod. Yes, it may not be nice to say this, but it is true for your safety. You made a lot of enemies during your time as Kick-Ass, and you also helped the police solve many cases, beat up many gangs, and controlled many criminals while patrolling the streets. Because your kung fu is not weak, and you have mastered the power of internal energy. So in the past 3 years, you have also arrested a lot of superpowered criminals. But not every criminal can reform after being caught. Some people will never change their ways, will not listen to advice, and will blame everything they have experienced on social injustice. They never reflect on what they have done wrong. They never consider why they were thrown into prison. They only think about hating those who threw them into prison. These people are too dangerous. If you are still patrolling the streets wearing Kick-Ass's uniform, but now you have lost your powers, you are likely to be targeted by these people. They will wait for an opportunity to retaliate against you, and we can't always keep an eye on you anytime and anywhere. If you are targeted or even something happens before we have time to stop them, then I think the consequences are self-evident. Li Ji's words were a bit blunt, but very realistic. So I hope you give up being a kick-ass. You can continue to shine in other fields and do other things. You are a hard-working child, so I have discussed with my companions and we will help you in all aspects and fields. Although Li Ji said a lot, David didn't listen much. He just smiled bitterly, but no matter how to say it, I am useless, right? You can't say that. Even if you don't be a street hero, you can do many other things. It's not only fighting that can help others. For example, let's take Tony Stark. Do you think he helps more people when he saves the world and maintains peace while wearing the iron armor, or as the boss of the Dawn Technology Group, he can help more people by selling the Dawn Technology series of potions and X-Beauty potions? I think this is self-evident, right? What Tony Stark can do in the iron armor is actually very limited. But Tony Stark who takes off the iron armor is not only Iron Man, but also the boss of Dawn Technology and Stark Group, a super rich man, a bald nemesis, a friend of women, and so on. The long list of titles behind it are the important factors for him to truly change the world. On the contrary, Iron Man does not seem that important. Without the iron armor, Tony Stark is still a superhero. In order to make David feel better, Li Ji betrayed his comrades and told Tony Stark as a joke. But this did not make David feel much pleasure. He just said dryly, but even so, Tony Stark's superpower has not changed. Isn't his superpower super rich? He can do all this based on his superpower. Listening to David's words, Tony Stark's superpower is super rich, Li Ji suddenly felt that what he said made sense. Tony Stark's superpower is indeed based on super wealth. Of course, super intelligence is also a bonus. Just like the Batman he had seen in his previous life. Okay, you don't need to think of ways to make me happy, Nightwalker. When I decided to stand in front of the man named Sebastian, I was ready. He is so powerful that I can't match him at all, so I was ready at that time that I might die at any time. Now I'm still alive, isn't this the best thing? David smiled at Li Ji. Li Ji was silent for a moment before asking. If you were allowed to choose again, would you regret your choice? In fact, you could have escaped. At that time, Sebastian didn't see you. David shook his head and smiled faintly, saying, how could I regret it? I'm a superhero. Is there a superhero that even his friends can't protect? Li Ji patted David on the shoulder before leaving, and left a message, recover well after returning home, I will do everything I can to help you. David stayed in the ward of Osborne Medical Center for another 3 days. After observation showed that all his values were normal, he returned home. David's father had always thought that David had participated in the school's tourism teaching held in other places. Although he was a little concerned about why his son seemed to have become a little silent after returning. But this middle-aged man who had worked in a factory for most of his life was a person who was good at communication. Although he was gentle, he didn't know how to express it to his son. David returned home and opened the mezzanine under his wardrobe, took out a set of bright green uniforms and placed them in front of him. That was the first uniform he designed, kick-ass ugly one-piece tight swimsuit. And it was green, even the hood was green. From the color to the style, it was so low. But this ugly outfit accompanied David in the most glorious 3 years of his life. He took to the streets to become kick-ass, met Nightcrawler and others, and was accepted as a disciple by the Stick Man. Later, he gathered a group of like-minded people to form the New York City Justice League. He was full of enthusiasm to protect the world like other superheroes. David deeply knew that he did not have the power and ability to change the world. But I can do what I can to maintain this increasingly better world. Reduce the crime rate and help community residents. I will not design those epic-making products that change the world. I don't have those wild ideas to communicate with the whole world and change the world's political situation. I am a drop of water in the ocean, ordinary and inconspicuous. But I can still do what I can. Even if it's just cleaning the park. Even if it's just patrolling at night to help people who come home late to get a sense of security. This world is a high-speed machine, Just like a supercar constantly surpassing the track record on the track. The world is getting faster and faster, and making more and more progress. I am not the engine that drives this world forward. But at least I am a stable screw, doing everything I can within my ability, just like what the Night Walker said in the video, everyone for me, I for everyone. This is why I want to be a hero, and it is also the true meaning of a hero in my opinion. A hero should sacrifice and dedicate himself. Whether there are a group of people standing behind him or only one person standing behind him, as long as someone is in danger, a hero should stand up. You can't help because a group of people are in danger, and just stand by and watch when only one person is in danger. I am a very stupid person and can't think about those profound philosophical questions. I won't think about whether to save one person and sacrifice a group of people, or to save a group of people and sacrifice one person. All I can do is always do my best to let go. I don't regret everything I have done in the past 3 years. But why is there a kind of unwillingness and regret? 17-year-old David hugged his green uniform and tears silently fell. At this moment, a charming voice sounded in Doty's ears. Do you feel unwilling? Do you want to regain your strength? I can help you. Chapter 1197, Conditions for Becoming a Mage. In fact, after leaving the hospital, Leiji has been thinking about how he can help David. Because from various aspects, the world actually needs people like David to become superheroes. He has a trait that he doesn't have, which can be said to be stubborn. Or in other words, he can be said to be a hot-blooded fool. But the world really needs such hot-blooded fools. There are too many people who care about the gains and losses of everything and put everything on the scale before deciding what to do. On the contrary, there are fewer and fewer people who don't care about anything and just do it because it should be done. David is undoubtedly a very outstanding teenager, which can be seen from the fact that he can pull together a group of people to form the New York City Justice League. Some people say that Captain Steve Rogers is the world's first superhero because his appearance changed the history of World War II, reversed the situation between the Japanese and the Allies, and gave everyone courage. In the darkest years of the night, he still dared to face the cruelty of war, and he called on countless young people to bravely go to the front line. This is what a superhero can do, and the later ones also take Captain Rogers as an example. Whether it is Iron Man, Nightcrawler, or the most civilian superhero Spider-Man, their ambitions and goals are actually higher. They always do things that ordinary people can't do at all, and make people admire them. But New York has another turn because of the appearance of Kick-Ass. If Captain Rogers is the first superhero, then Kick-Ass can be regarded as the first civilian street hero. I still remember the first time David wore Kick-Ass's uniform, swimsuit, to stop others from committing crimes. At that time, he didn't have any superpowers, and he couldn't even fight. But he just stupidly rushed forward to help others, even if he was beaten all over. That was also the first time Leiji met him, and Leiji treated him to ice cream for this. In fact, the appearance of Kick-Ass has brought a very big change to the world, especially to New York City. Kick-Ass's status in the hearts of New York citizens is no less than those superheroes. Because Kick-Ass is more ordinary, he looks like a very ordinary person, and the only thing that is unusual is his ugly uniform. And the courage to wear that ugly and stupid uniform on the street is just a little worse than wearing red underwear outside. Apart from that, there is nothing else about Kick-Ass David that is worthy of praise and praise. But just such an ordinary person did many things that ordinary people dare not do. He stood up to maintain justice and order. He inspired many people and made many people understand that as long as they are willing to stand up, everyone can become a hero. This kind of courage is not possessed by ordinary people. Leiji admires him very much. Even if David will be called a big fool of justice, it doesn't matter. It is not good to have too many smart people and too few fools in the world. If everyone is smart and only sweeps the snow in front of their own door, then who will sweep the road that everyone walks on outside the house? Do smart people think that if they sweep more roads, they will suffer more losses? There must always be people in this world who make selfless contributions. They are the fire of this world, burning themselves and lighting up others. So after returning home, Leiji found Lan and asked her, "Do you think David is suitable to be a wizard?" Huh? Lan, who was reading Green Mars, closed the book. She turned to look at Leiji. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean, you should know about David. His meridians are now broken and his dantian is shattered. I'm afraid he will never be able to practice martial arts again. But it's a great loss to cut off his path to becoming a superhero. Li Ji sorted out his thoughts and said, "So I was thinking, can we recommend him to be the disciple of the Ancient One?" No, he doesn't need to be the disciple of the Ancient One. As long as any temple wizard is willing to accept him as a disciple, or you are willing to accept him as a disciple and give him magical powers, that will be fine. Just like Strange, let David become a wizard. I guess the wizard's energy should not conflict with the energy in his body, right? Li Ji's thinking is not unreasonable. Lan nodded and said with certainty, "When David was injured before, you took me to visit him. He was not awake at that time. Although I don't have a way to make the two energies in his body reach a balance and then eliminate them, there is one thing you said is right, that is, the magical energy and the two energies in his body do not conflict. In theory, David can regain his power by practicing magical energy." Lan gave a positive and affirmative answer to Li Ji's question. "Yes." Li Ji waved his fist. "That's good. Then can you accept him as your disciple? Teach him some magic energy, let him continue to be a kick-ass king, but change from using a stick to using a wand in the future. What do you think?" Lan's expression was a little subtle. After she put the book aside and stood up, she put her arms around Li Ji's neck and said softly, "Do you know why you haven't mastered magic? Obviously you are my boyfriend. I can teach you by example every day, and Master Guyi admires you so much. If necessary, you can also get his personal guidance, as well as the king, and the temple wizard in New York. You have so many resources, but think about it, why haven't you become an excellent wizard? Think about it carefully." Lan's question seemed a little subtle. Li Ji began to think carefully about why he couldn't become a wizard. Speaking of it, he wanted to learn magic at the beginning. In this world, there is no such thing as magic compatibility or magic affinity. Of course, affinity also exists, but magic affinity is probably the least critical point in learning magic. Because Kamar Taji has a variety of potions that can make ordinary people have a good affinity for magic. Li Ji remembered that the first difficulty that really trapped him was the various characters of different civilizations. In addition to the traditional Chinese calligraphy, small seal script, traditional official script and British Old English, which are still relatively well regulated, there are also similar to Phagspa script, ancient Sanskrit, ancient Latin, cuneiform and other various at least 30 different writing systems. And Kamar Taji is now teaching the simplest fireball. Although there is an official script version written by Master Guyi, I can understand it by reading the official script, but if I want to have a deeper understanding of the origin of fireball and be able to use fireball to perfection, like Dr. Doom, then at least look at the notes and experiences of several other former mages and some very excellent mages who practiced in the field of fireball. And these notes and experiences are often from mages of different civilizations, and are described in different ways. If you don't learn their language, then it is impossible to understand what they are saying. Kamar Taki's vast collection of notes is so vast that no one can translate all the notes of past mages, and there is no need for the mages of Kamar Taki to translate them. Because instead of wasting time translating some texts and possibly not being able to express the original author's thoughts, it is better to just learn this foreign language. Anyway, Kamar Taki has a lot of foreign language textbooks. Yes, that's right, this is the thinking of the mages. They will not let the textbooks accommodate themselves, but will choose to accommodate the textbooks themselves. This is also the first threshold to become a mage, that is, you must be able to learn and master foreign languages. And after that, the second threshold for mages is the mastery of mathematics. Because Newton once studied in Kamar Taki for a long time, he and the Ancient One had also argued many theories with each other. As the leader of the Holy Shield Brotherhood at that time, Newton had many genius ideas. He boldly introduced many conceptual things in mathematics into spells. This brought about a major change in Kamar Taki's spells. This formed the appearance of modern spells today, including the incremental variables in spells, and the positioning coordinate system in space spells. All of this was perfected by Newton. If you want to learn spells and master them to a certain extent, then you must be very good at mathematics. Li Ji thought about it carefully, and after thinking through all these things, he finally understood one thing: why can't he be a mage? That's because his IQ is not enough. To become a mage, you actually need a super talent. This talent is not the so-called magic affinity in general novels, which is completely dependent on bloodline. Here, if a mage wants to become stronger, there is a prerequisite, that is, he must be a top student. The smarter the person, the more suitable he is to master magic. On the contrary, a fool can't learn magic. So although Gu Yu has lived for more than 500 years, he is still a very fashionable person. He is not like those stubborn old antiques, whose entertainment projects are only some old-fashioned games. Gu Yu can also surf the internet, chat online and play online games. Just like his QQ farm and QQ ranch are already very high. In addition to always being on guard against a guy named Lei who would steal vegetables from his farm and ranch, Ancient One would occasionally play other games. For example, Diablo or something like that. Of course, it's hard to say whether he plays League of Legends. So why can Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange become disciples of Ancient One? The most important point is that both of them have extraordinary talents and high IQs. Needless to say, Doctor Doom has a higher IQ than Tony Stark in some aspects. And Strange is also an incredible figure. Although he is not a scientist or a researcher, he is the youngest surgeon since humans have had the medical branch of neurosurgery. When he was in his early 20s, he had already stood in front of the operating table, where many people would have to wait until they were 40 to stand with a lancet. Strange is not a researcher, so I haven't heard of him inventing anything, but he is also famous in the medical field. The Lancet magazine has forwarded countless of his articles on medical system reform. Isn't he a genius? Strange is a super genius. Before entering Camp he had already mastered no less than 6 foreign languages. After joining Doctors Without Borders. In order to work more smoothly in South America, he also took a month to learn some South American languages, and he learned them all and could communicate with people normally. Most people can't learn and master a foreign language as quickly as he does. So after thinking about it, Li Ji finally understood why he couldn't become a wizard. It turned out that Lan was actually saying that he was stupid after beating around the bush for a long time. Well, Li Ji must admit that his IQ is just at the level of an ordinary person, and he can't be compared with a genius like Tony Stark. I believe that if Tony Stark also learns magic, his achievements should not be low. If a fool like me forces himself to learn, I guess there is no way out. Lan looked at Li Ji with a thoughtful expression, tapped Li Ji's nose and said, "It seems that you understand." Li Ji smiled bitterly, "Yeah, at least I'm not so stupid that I don't even understand this. So, if David wants to be a wizard, it's not impossible for me to take him in as an apprentice and teach him magic, but how much can he learn? Can he average an A+ in every exam from childhood to adulthood?" Li Wan scratched her chin, thought for a while, and shook her head. "I heard that his grades are average, and it seems that most of his grades can only hover at the level of B or B." Lam shook his head. "Then there's no way. He may be like you, and he can't even reach the level of a wizard apprentice." Although Lan was telling the truth, Li Ji felt something was wrong when he listened to it, and he felt inexplicably uncomfortable. Chapter 1198 Great opportunity is before you. After discussing with Lan, Li Ji found that it was not feasible to let David go the path of a mage. Because David was not a top student, if he forced himself to learn the path of a mage, he would most likely die in the future. Thinking about it this way, there was really no way. However, Lan suggested to Li Ji, "Why don't you ask the magical master Ancient One? Although David is not suitable for practicing magic, maybe Master Ancient One can help him get rid of the 2 different energies in his body." Lan's suggestion was not unreasonable. Li Ji really considered asking Master Ancient One for help at that time. It was just because he had to see Wang if he went to Kamartaki. And Wang was looking at him strangely now. Li Ji still remembered that the weapon Wang was holding was like a Buddhist demon subduing pestle. It was a blunt weapon, and it looked like it could only break a person's bones. But now he saw that Wang seemed to be holding a machete in his hand. It was cold and sharp under the sunlight. It was intimidating and frightening. Why did Wang change his weapon? It must have nothing to do with me, right? Li Ji thought so. Although he could deceive himself with a method of mental victory, it could not change the fact that he dared not step into Kamartaki for a long time. "Why, are you still afraid of Wang?" Lan knew what Li Ji was thinking just by looking at his eyes. She smiled and bit Li Ji's lips gently and said, "In fact, Wang is not that scary. Although he looks a bit like a big brother of the Northeast underworld, he is still a good person. He has treated me as warmly as my biological father for so many years. It's because my father is too scary. Look at those in the Avengers." Li Ji muttered in his heart. "Look at how they treated Sam before. Sam was almost killed by them. Well, speaking of it, I haven't been back to Kamartaki for a long time. Let's go buy some gifts and go back to see Master Ancient One and Wang." Lam said this and dragged Li Ji out of the house. Whether Li Ji was willing or not, she dragged him to make a big purchase in New York City, including all kinds of food, clothing and daily necessities. At the same time, he went to a computer supply store and bought a few Titan graphics cards and Intel's new i9 processors, and a series of other products. Why buy these? Li Ji was a little confused. Are you going to give them as gifts? Yes, you guessed it right. Lan nodded very seriously, because when I was chatting with Master Guyi and Wang on the internet before, they all complained that the configuration of recent online games was too high. They are currently playing an online game called Shunho Nuan. Although it is an online game, it is extremely demanding on configuration. Master Guyi's current computer has an i7 processor plus a GTX 1060 and 16 grams memory. It is enough for stealing vegetables and playing 2 games of Landlord. But if he wants to play Shunho Nuan with Wang, this configuration will not work. So it is necessary to help them change the configuration and upgrade the computer. If they have fun playing, especially if Wang has fun playing, maybe he won't hate you so much. As soon as Lan finished speaking, Li Ji rushed to the computer store's service staff and shouted to their manager, 50 top-spec Alienware computers. Note, Alienware is Dell's top gaming computer brand, famous for its high configuration and high price. I will pay cash when they arrive tomorrow, and add 20% to the price. As Kamardaki's son-in-law, Li Ji called himself, Li Ji took Lan and 50 top-spec Alienware computer hosts, plus matching Dellfish screens, back to Kamardaki. Although Kamardaki is not short of money, it is not very rich. Because compared with Kunlun, Kamardaki is relatively more closed. There is less communication with the outside world, and only a few mysterious people know the existence of Kamardaki. So in many cases, Kamardaki's secular wealth is far less than Kunlun. If you want to play online games and you have to pay for it, Master Guyi will definitely not be able to pay more than Lei Gong. So non-essential daily necessities like computers. Kamardaki has always been a company that does not pursue the latest and most expensive products as long as they are still mainstream and not too outdated. Because the requirements for computers are high, the price is also very expensive. Just like the 50 alien computers that Li Ji brought. But this cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when Li Ji brought these gifts back, it still caused quite a stir. Kamardaki has never spent so much money on entertainment projects. After all, the mages are all academic masters, and academic masters should study hard, right? No one is embarrassed to say that they actually like to play games. Although Wang still looked at Li Ji with some unkindness, as if Li Ji had cheated away his own daughter who he had raised for many years. But this time Li Ji did not come empty-handed, but brought so many gifts, so he couldn't be too cold. Especially Li Ji said that one of them was for him, and the other was specially equipped for Master Guyi, and the configurations of the two were exactly the same. They were all Intel's top i9 processors, Corsair's Platinum Comb memory, and Samsung M2 interface solid-state hard drives. There is also a 4-way Titan X graphics card, plus a 4K large screen composed of 3 ultra-wide screens. This expensive little gift made Wang a little happy, because Wang was really annoyed playing Shunho Nuan recently. It was okay that he couldn't queue up to enter the server, but after entering the server, it was so stuck that his i7 plus 1060 configuration would sometimes be stuck like a PPT if the picture was set to high quality. Wang believed that with a small gift like Li Ji, he would at least be less stuck when playing games. Of course, in addition to the gifts brought to Wang and Guyi, Li Ji thought of setting up a high-end internet cafe in Kamadaki with the other extra alien computers, so that everyone could play when they were relaxing. Even if you are a top student, you need leisure and entertainment, right? Your gift is very good. I think many people will be very happy. After seeing Master Guyi, the first sentence Master Guyi said was to thank Li Ji for bringing so many high-configuration computers this time. Li Ji naturally said repeatedly, "It's my duty, it's my duty." Anyway, he still had some money to earn, so it didn't matter if he bought some small gifts. After this, Li Ji felt that he should bring some small gifts to Kamartaki in the future, so that he could have a better relationship here. At least when Wang really wanted to summon the mages to do something to him, everyone would think about who provided them with the things they were playing with, so that they would at least show mercy, right? After the two of them exchanged pleasantries for a while, Li Ji turned the matter to what he wanted to ask. He talked about David. He hoped that the Ancient One could help David. After listening to Li Ji's story, the Ancient One nodded, saying that he knew about it and admired David, but he said that he couldn't help him at this time. Why? Li Ji was a little confused. Because there is a great opportunity waiting for this child. Whether he can get this opportunity depends on his personal ability. Li Ji disliked the ambiguous words of Master Guyu the most. Why is there such a sharp edge? Can you please say it clearly? Chapter 1199. The first game. David heard a charming voice whispering in his ear, "Want to restore your strength? I can help you." Who? David shouted loudly and looked around, but he didn't find anyone near him. Who is this sudden voice? Who is talking to him? David didn't know. He carefully checked every corner of his room, but didn't find any suspicious equipment, or microphones, eavesdropping devices and the like. So it is certain that this guy should not be using technology to talk to him. David has seen and experienced a lot in the 3 years since he became Kick-Ass. He knows that there are many strange abilities in this world, as well as supernatural things. Not to mention anything else, there are many puzzling superpowers among mutants alone. After becoming the disciple of the Stick Old Man, the Stick Old Man told him many other incredible things in martial arts. For example, the legendary stories of transmitting sound over 1,000 miles and crossing the river with a reed. According to the description of the Stick Man, one of his idols, Nightwalker, is also a martial arts hero. The swordsmanship, fists, palms, and various flying knife techniques he uses are actually a type of martial arts. Just like the powerful and terrifying swordsmanship that looks like lightning. It is also a manifestation of a martial arts cultivation that has reached a very high level. So David has always been working hard to become a superhero like Nightwalker. Since Nightwalker can become such a powerful superhero through practice, then I should be able to reach the same level as him after 10 or 20 years of hard practice. David was still very optimistic at the time. Because he knew so much, David is now very clear about the situation he is facing. He is afraid that he is being targeted by something, or a person or an object, that he cannot solve now. Who is playing tricks? Come out. David shouted around, but the charming voice did not appear. He just continued to laugh in David's ear. If you want me to come out, it's very simple, just make a deal with me. What deal? Although David asked what kind of deal he wanted to make, it didn't mean that he really wanted to make such a deal, because the old man with the stick once told him one thing. That is, never talk to or even trade with those things whose brains you are not sure of. Because you don't know whether those guys who make deals with you on the other side of you are human or ghosts. David still believed in the words of the old man with the stick very much, so although he said so, most of the time he was just pretending to agree. Do you want to make a deal with me? Making a deal with me can not only restore your strength, but also take it to a higher level. David thought to himself that he must be in trouble now. He felt that he had to stabilize the situation first, and then find a way to inform Nightwalker and the others about what happened here. Now that his power was gone, he would not be able to deal with it even if an ordinary mutant came, especially at home, and it might implicate his father. So he talked to the charming voice in a low voice to stabilize the other party, while putting on his coat, picking up his mobile phone and walking out of the house. Even when his father asked him where he was going, he vaguely said that he was going out to eat hamburgers with his classmates. Oh, you are a smart boy after all. You know to leave your nest and not implicate your father, right? The voice next to him said with a slight mockery. David's mind quickly analyzed, this person should be able to see me. I don't know if he uses his superpowers or surveillance equipment. Of course, it is also possible that he is near my house now. David looked around, observing the surrounding houses, silently marking those positions that are suitable for observing himself. Only in this way, when the night walkers come later, he can provide some useful information in the first time. Thinking of this, David calmly reached into the pocket of his coat, where his smartphone was placed, and set an emergency button. Just like the emergency button that notified the night watchman that they were in urgent danger and could ask for help by pressing the button, the gadget in this phone is the same thing. Because he lost his ability, the night watchmen were afraid that he would be retaliated by the criminals they had captured, so they installed a small thing in his phone. It can track and locate his location, and if anything happens, pressing this button will notify all the superheroes of the night watchman, whether it is Big Daddy, Spider-Man, or Nightwalker. If Spider-Man, who is wandering around New York City, receives David's message, he should be able to arrive within 5 minutes. In the city, Spider-Man actually moves very fast. But just when David was about to press the button, He suddenly found that the phone in his pocket disappeared. Just when David was stunned, the annoying voice sounded in his ears again. "Hey, are you looking for your phone?" "Sorry, because of the principal. So I confiscated it." Just like students cannot bring mobile phones into the exam, it will help you cheat, right? Listening to this buzzing voice in his ear, David felt more and more annoyed. Although gritting his teeth, David still kept a low voice. "What do you want to do?" I said. "It's a very simple thing. I can restore your strength." "How about it?" "Not bad. As long as you sign a contract with me, you can become a magical boy with powerful power." "I don't want to be a magical boy at all, okay?" "Do I have to shout, 'Sailor Sun transformation, Sun prism power,' when using this power? Just thinking about it makes me get goosebumps all over my body, okay?" So David flatly refused and said, "No, I don't want these powers at all." "Thank you, you can find another person." "Haha, interesting young man, but you want me to leave?" "But I don't want to leave." "What can you do to me?" "Wow. This guy is so annoying. If I could see him, I really want to punch his head off." David muttered to himself, but he really had no way to get rid of this annoying voice. He could only do, "I said I don't want it, why are you so annoying?" "Because the fun game hasn't started yet." "How can I leave?" said the annoying voice. David was puzzled. "Game, yes, game. Speaking of games, I think it's time to teleport you to the game field. Come on, let's start the first game, save 1 or save 100. When the annoying voice said this, David felt dizzy and inexplicably seemed to be transported to another time and space. No, not another time and space. David looked around and it seemed to be a railway junction in Dallas, USA. The reason why David could recognize this place was because the words Dallas were written on the road sign. Before David could observe carefully, he could hear the whistle of a train in the distance. When David turned his eyes to the direction of the train, his pupils shrank violently and he shouted, "No, stop." Chapter 1200 Crush Him. David saw a very bad scene. A high-speed train was about to pass through a railway gate. The gate railing that was supposed to be lowered did not lower. It seemed that something was broken. Maybe it was a motor failure? Once this fully automatic machine broke down and there were no special maintenance and supervision personnel nearby, it would get stuck there and not even indicate that the train was coming. The freight train running at a speed of 150 kilometers per hour is a very scary steel behemoth. The huge shovel clamp in front and the powerful power of the head make it like an indestructible monster. Even ordinary main station tanks would be directly knocked away when parked in front of such a high-speed freight train. And now, a school bus slowly drove into the gate of the train because the railway gate did not lower the barrier and there was no warning of the train coming. Because there was a high wall at the gate blocking the school bus driver's sight, he did not see the high-speed train that was about to pass. So David shouted, "Stop." He wanted to stop the school bus driver's reckless behavior. Although there was a distance between them, David could vaguely see that there were still many children in the car. However, because the distance was too far, no matter how loudly David shouted, the driver of the school bus on the opposite side could not hear him. So in David's horrified eyes, the freight train and the school bus collided violently. Bang! The bright yellow school bus was high into the air like a toy thrown away by a child, and the whole world seemed to be playing in slow motion. David saw the school bus being squeezed and deformed under the impact of the train, and the glass on the school bus was shattered. The children in the school bus were screaming. Many people's faces were deformed by fear. Bang! There was another violent collision. The school bus that had been spinning and flying in the air for several circles finally landed. It hit the rails hard and was then knocked away by the freight train. Just like throwing away a rag, the originally sturdy school bus was completely damaged in such a violent collision. And those children in the car? David looked over and saw red blood oozing from the bottom of the yellow school bus. There were also students thrown out of the train. They just lay straight on the ground, not moving. "No, no, no!" David shouted repeatedly, louder and more urgent. He looked around, and there was nothing around. "Damn it, damn it! What are you doing? Did you do all this?" David ran towards the school bus frantically after the train left, shouting as he ran. "No matter who you are or what you want to do, I beg you to give me your phone. I need it to call for help." David's voice was hysterical. He had already run to the side of the school bus, which was a primary school bus carrying 50 students and 2 teachers returning from an outing. When David ran here to rescue the wounded, His eyes suddenly blurred. He found himself standing at the starting point again. The school bus had not yet arrived, and the train was still far away. And the voice was still whispering in his ear, "How is it? Is the game fun? What did you do?" David repeatedly used various methods to confirm that he was not dreaming. "Nothing, I just showed you everything that will happen in 3 minutes. You can think of this as my ability to foresee the future. Remember what I just said. This is a game, save 1 or save 100. Look, there is a wrench on the fork of the railway on your left. As long as you move this wrench, you can get the train off the original track. In this way, the school bus can be saved, and you can save the 50 students." The annoying voice had just finished speaking, and David wanted to move the wrench, but he found that his body could not move. But the whispering voice continued, "Of course, you are not a hero? How can the hero's choice be so simple? I won't let you simply pull the wrench and save the school bus. After you pull the wrench, the train returns to another track. Come, look at the 2 o'clock direction. See? There is a drunkard there, sleeping on the fork of the railway. You can save a person on the school bus by pulling the wrench, but the drunkard will be crushed to death. What do you want to choose?" The voice in my ear is really getting more and more annoying. There was always an inexplicable sound in its voice, as if it was watching the fun. The kind of people who watch the fun and don't mind the bigger the trouble, the more fun the better is the most annoying. It's like those people who watch others jump off the building and then cheer them on to jump. If possible, David really wants to catch these guys one by one and send them all to jail. But now he is also facing the problem posed by this madman. Should he pull the wrench to save the people on the school bus or crush the drunkard to death? By the way, let me tell you, this drunkard is actually a scumbag. He is an alcoholic, beats his wife, and owes gambling debts. He even sold a guitar that his son won in the school competition to get money for gambling. He is a complete scumbag, so you don't actually need to feel guilty. If I were you, I would just pull the wrench and crush this scumbag to death. On the other side, they are a group of future flowers of the motherland. They are all 7 or 8 years apart, and they are all spoiled and well-behaved little babies at home. If they are hit and killed by the train, more than 50 families will be broken. But it's different on the other side. If that scumbag is crushed to death, it will be a relief for their families. Come on, make a good choice. Do you want to pull the wrench to save the people on the school bus? Or do you want to save a scumbag? Look, the train is getting closer and closer. You have 2 minutes to make a choice. David now found that his body could move again, but only one of his hands could move, just enough to hold the wrench. Now the lives of different people on both sides are in his hands. He was caught in an unprecedented contradiction. Should he pull the wrench and kill the drunkard, or watch what was supposed to happen continue to happen? For the first time in David's life, he faced a difficult choice. And in his ears, that annoying voice was still whispering, "Crush him, crush him, crush him." Ho ha ho ha. Hurry up. Is there anything else you are hesitating about? Crush a scumbag and save a group of futures. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.